Hey, see, I'm glad one of the new features is already paying off. Welcome everyone to the Q&A. Sorry for the late start. Yes, apparently there was no sound, and thankfully to the new comments, I realized it now immediately. I'm able to get the comments up so I can kind of see them as we're moving along here, hopefully, and keep up. Rather, I mean, it's as much for me as it is for all of you. This is what I'm how I'm feeling about the comment section. We may have to stick with it regardless. I have a few details to work out for the future as far as where it goes up and everything. But I'm hoping that this will allow me to keep up with the comments better. And yes, I had the microphone muted, so I was able to see when all of you were telling me that you couldn't hear me and then the mic was muted, rather than finding out like 35 minutes later, or let's be real, more likely an hour and 15 minutes later, when I finally saw it on the Q&A section. Let's get a comment up and make sure that, yeah, it's no, I think that's working. It's not interfering with their comments on the side. So let's see how all of this works. Look forward to it and see how it all comes together. Hopefully, have a good Q&A tonight. I am sure that there is going to be some disappointment from all of you on a less than exciting trade deadline day. Going to be probably some Josh Simmons questions that we may or may not have some answers to. Let's just go through it all. I don't have a lot of things to say for the commentary for my opening monologue or anything. So let's just get into the questions and see how quickly we can catch up. I know, even though it has disappeared, I need to get my tab that shows me when we have super chat questions, like from Dog Petter. Want to see Pickens or Martin? It's time. You're going to at some point. I don't think there's any doubt about it now. I mean, Chiefs are going to have some injuries. They're going to have some issues. It's going to be time that you are going to see some Zach Pickens and Broderick Martin. Marlon Tuipulotu, I believe, has now had I think he's had 2 call-ups, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, they could always put him on the 53 and that be your guy. I'm intrigued to see some Broderick Martin. I would be intrigued to see some Zach Pickens. Chiefs need to do something. They need to try some things with the defensive line because they've got some issues. They've got some things that they need to figure out with their front four. And I don't know if there's any easy solutions. I don't know if these guys are going to be the solution or not. I do know that it's difficult to come into Steve Spagnuolo's system without a training camp, without off-season workouts. It's even more difficult in season. Mike Pennel, it's easier for because he's a guy that's been around. He knows the verbiage, all of this. Let's see what happens, but I'm with you, Dog Petter. You need to get these guys. I feel like you need to get these guys some elevations, see what you got, and do some experimentation because I think you'd rather feel a little bit better about where your defensive front four is right now than it is right now. And I mean, believing in Pro Football Focus, they'll tell you that Mike Pennel was an upgrade last week. It's at least a guy that knows the system and comes in and plays with a lot of energy and some spurts, as Brett Veach once told us. So let's see what happens. But I imagine you are not alone, Dog Petter. I think that there's probably quite a few people now who would like to see what some of the guys on the practice squad have in them and what they could do. Luttrell, what would Howie Roseman do? That is an interesting question to ask. I got no problems with that one. What would Howie Roseman do if he was GM of the Chiefs? What would he have done today? I feel like Howie probably would have. What did Howie do today? Did he actually stand pat? I need to check this out. I know the Eagles probably made some move earlier that I am just forgetting about. I know that they made a move. I just can't. I'm completely blanking on it. Pulling up today's transaction to see at least what they did today. But what does Howie do? Howie usually moves some guys that aren't playing for a draft pick. Patriots did that to a little bit of success. I mean, they had some guys who were not getting the playing time. so veteran. So they moved on from them and picked up some draft picks. I am a little surprised that the Chiefs did not do that. I mean, understand I understand not doing it with Elijah Mitchell because Elijah Mitchell has no film. I mean, I don't know what you could have gotten for Elijah Mitchell. And if you're the Chiefs and you need some explosiveness in the backfield, I mean, that's a guy that you guess you're holding on to. I don't know. Once again, I don't know why you did not get a look at him, especially this past week. I mean, I really that is something I'm going to be digging into next week and asking some questions about when the Chiefs really kind of at least start getting back to what's going on. Um, kind of started changing my mind mid answer on that question and then reading at the same time. I distract myself too much sometimes. And I haven't had a sport coffee for me to be bouncing around like this. And maybe it's the iced tea. But let's see. The Philadelphia Day just released a veteran. Was there anything else? Okay, yeah, they picked up the linebacker from Miami, so they tried to do a few things here. Getting Nolan Smith back, that's going to be good for them. So hey, Howie does what Howie does. Tried to improve something that they feel is a shortage and a weakness in their spot. It's not a big move. It wasn't a costly move. They have the resources to do what they did to get a guy like because it was Phillips, I think, that they picked up, right? Yeah, Jalen Phillips, third round pick. I mean, it's not as splashy as some of the other moves that were made, but it's kind of what Howie does. I mean, they've got some injuries, they've got some weaknesses to compensate for. Yeah, Casey Harold, you don't want to see me on Sport Coffee, but to your point, Luttrell, I think Howie would have done something. Howie would have picked up some picks. Howie would have made a move for someone. Now you can't trade for a player who's not available, and I'm not certain. I mean, would any of you? I'll ask you. I wish I could have a poll on here. We could do it that way. How many of you would have made the move for Quinnen Williams if for the Dallas trade? How many of you would have given up those draft picks to get him? Not sure I would have. I think it's just too costly. I would have some chemistry problems and questions. Could that have been the piece? Maybe the Chiefs should have done that. I mean, that will probably be something that maybe we'll look back later and say, hey, should the Chiefs have just gone all in and tried to get something done like that and bring in a Quinnen Williams? Because right now, their front four is a problem. That might be it. But there's a point. I mean, yes, should the Chiefs have stood pat? I'm not sure I would have. I mean, once again, you can't trade for players who aren't available, and you can't trade players for whom there's no market. If there was not a team that was interested in picking up a Josh Williams, if I'm the Chiefs, I would have traded. Right now, you don't have a role for him. You have a role on special teams. Is he depth? Sure, you've got a decent amount of depth at corner right now, to the point where you're bringing up guys. I mean, you got Kevin Knowles, and Kevin Knowles doesn't have much of a role right now, but you wanted to protect him. Kevin Knowles is ahead of Josh Williams on the depth chart, but if a team didn't want Josh Williams, you're not going to pick anybody up. Elijah Mitchell. I mean, if you're not going to play Elijah Mitchell, maybe there's no team that wants him. But I was surprised a little bit on both fronts. One, that the Chiefs didn't make a move to try and pick up some draft picks with some players who are not getting playing time and right now are not part of their rotation. And I was surprised that they didn't make a move for a particular player. I mean, Breece Hall, I know a lot of you are talking about Breece. That would have been, to me, a player to consider, even a rental for a third round pick for a rental. You would, if you didn't re-sign him. I mean, if Breece Hall worked in Kansas City, you might very well consider re-signing him to a long-term deal. Then, hey, you you move on, and and if you move on with that guy for Breece Hall, you probably get a comp pick. So you're not just giving up a third; you'd probably be getting something back from it on the comp side. So it wouldn't be just a straight third. There would be getting a pick back. So I mean, if your ceiling's your ceiling, and I get it, the Chiefs once again, I mean, they have spent some of their future draft picks. So why would you continue to move more future draft picks when you, if anything, with the way that your roster is built right now, your roster is built to make sure that you have as many picks going forward as you can get your hands on and get affordable. So that's where I think today was a little bit of a missed opportunity. And hey, there's going to be a lot of 2020 hindsight. If the Chiefs, if flame out this year because they didn't have the explosive running back that they needed, so be it. I mean, if they flame out because they could not get pressure on the quarterback at a particular moment in time, maybe you're going to regret not having Quinnen Williams. I would have real concerns about Quinnen Williams and Chris Jones coexisting. I don't know if they could coexist. Might both be great individual people. Hey, Chris Jones, got no problem with Chris Jones. Chris Jones is always going to get high character marks from me. I know some people think he's a little moody and there's complaints and you can have them, but I don't think he's a problem. But sometimes you get two alphas next to each other, things don't work out. Maybe that was a concern that the Chiefs had, that it was just going to be too many alphas in one place. That can be a problem. I have seen that be a problem. Rob, think it's time to tank onto 2026. I don't think you ever, I mean, I get it. But I would never tank if the only reason I'm the Chiefs, if I'm ever going to tank during this era, it's because Patrick Mahomes is hurt. Then tank away. You end up the 7th seed in the playoffs. Any year that you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, you got a chance to make the playoffs. And I still don't see fundamental flaws with this team. I see fixable flaws with this team. And there have been times that this season that the Chiefs team has shown no flaws. Have they been frustratingly inconsistent? Yes, there's no doubt about that. I at 5-4, and Patrick Mahomes is healthy. I can't tank. I'm not taking that chance. I mean, any chance that Patrick Mahomes is healthy is a chance that you could win the Super Bowl. This is not a bad team. I mean, they have beaten good teams this year. Buffalo's a really good team, and they've lost this game every year. So I feel stupid. I feel like for dating myself, made this reference last week. I feel like Charlie Brown and with Lucy and the football. I expected the Chiefs to lose against the Bills beginning the season. I allowed the 3-game winning streak to influence my opinion and thought, you know what? Maybe this is the year the Chiefs break the streak. No, of course not. Do I expect the Chiefs to beat this team if they see them again in January? Yes, 100%. And if the Chiefs don't beat Buffalo in January, if they see them, then this will have been a failed season. That'd be major disappointment, but I think this team will, because it is what they do. But I'm never tanking with a healthy Patrick Mahomes. This team could have been 3-5, 3-5-1, like the Cowboys, and I'm probably buying because I just don't think you tank on a healthy Patrick Mahomes. I'm the Brown. Andy's coaching is looking like his last year as an Eagle. The players love him, but it doesn't reflect on the field. Yes, no, maybe. I get it. I mean, I get the concern, but again, I don't see it that way. There's one perplexing loss on this schedule. The loss at Jacksonville is really weird. And there might be, we might look back later and maybe we're going to have some explanations for the Jacksonville loss. I don't have any explanations for you for now. I'm expecting that at the end of the year, the Chiefs are going to be Super Bowl champs, and we're going to be wondering how in the world did they lose to Jacksonville, or they're going to not win a Super Bowl, and we're going to say, well, now the Jacksonville loss seems to make perfect sense. I don't know what it is right now. But honestly, that last year in Philadelphia, that nothing was working anymore. I mean, Andy was burnt out. The message wasn't getting through anymore. They didn't have a quarterback. They weren't playing well. Your quarterback, 48, well, where were we at now? We'll just be generous and say 72 hours ago, your quarterback was the number one favorite to be MVP of the league. I mean, I don't see one loss should affect you that much. And this team, I mean, once again, I mean, hey, holding Buffalo 28 points isn't actually a bad thing. I would be actually more disappointed in the Chiefs for only scoring 21 points. They should have put up more points than that. But I get where you're coming from on this one. I'm not going to buy in on it. I'm going to be probably a no for now. If the Chiefs don't make the playoffs, maybe I'm going to be a on this one. But that Eagles team, that was a burned out team. And I mean, they had the beginnings of a quarterback. They didn't have Patrick Mahomes though, so granted that. But that team did not have any of the highs that this team has. That team it was a bad time. It was probably good for everybody to have a change. I see nothing that suggests to me that this team needs a change, that it needs a break of any sort, or fresh voice, or anything. Once again, I could end up looking like the crazy loon of Kansas City, but they lost this game on the road at Buffalo by one score, and frankly had a chance at the end to tie the game up. Maybe with a couple of decisions, they did not. They could have won this game. Their quarterback played a really bad game. Josh Allen played a great game. I mean, there's a lot of things you can look at this and say, wait a minute, these two teams aren't that far apart. Kansas City played a bad game, still were competitive, almost won it. Same thing happened against the Chargers in Brazil. You know, they played a bad game against what I still feel like was a almost perfect game. It's the best that the Chargers can play, and the Chargers still barely won that game. I feel like that this team has 3 losses to really good teams that they could lose to or beat on any given day. 1 point possession, 1 point losses, and they got one unexplainable meltdown in Jacksonville. I still can't explain that one, but I'm not there yet. I'm quite a ways from there. I'm the Browns. So if you're there, that's okay. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm nowhere close. Maybe I'll get there, but I just still feel like that this team has good football in front of them the rest of the way. And thanks again for the super chat. And Dog Petter back again after the Sauce trade McDuffie in off season. I mean, I've been kind of glancing at this the last few sessions on the Q&A and everything, but I feel like it's more and more likely as we go that that's probably the right thing to do. It's a right business move. I'm not saying I would be happy with it, because I think Trent McDuffie's great. I think he's just one of the best players at his position. The metrics would back that up and say that even when he's not in the slot, that he is still a shutdown corner on the outside. He only has one. I truly feel like Trent McDuffie has truly only one weakness. And that's, defending bigger receivers, guys that he's giving up 4 or 5 inches against. And you can avoid that. I mean, just don't have him go up against receivers who are 6'4". And the Chiefs have done a good job of that this year. I mean, if they've been going up against bigger receivers since the Eagles game, if they've been going up against bigger receivers, they've been moving McDuffie more into the slot. So he's matching up against receivers who are more his size. Players that he is going to always be a matchup favorite against, because he is a good slot corner. When he's on the outside, they're moving him around so that he is playing guys who are closer to his size. I mean, that's literally his only weakness, is just facing guys who are bigger than he is. That's that's pretty remarkable to have only one weakness. I mean, that's truly what I feel like Trent McDuffie's only weakness is. So that being said, I mean, you can't pay everybody. And I felt like going into this season, the Chiefs in this cycle, there were 3 players that you were looking at, and Trey Smith, George Karlaftis, and Trent McDuffie, that you could probably afford to sign 2 of the 3. I don't know how you sign 3 of the 3. The math is really, really difficult. And I know we talk about salary cap is pliable. It's fake. It's not fake. It's very real, but there's only so much you can do. And the cap is only going to go up so much. And the Chiefs right now for next year are massively over the cap. I mean, you could do some things around, but the longer you wait, two things happen with Trent McDuffie. One, the longer you wait to get a deal done, the lower his trade value is. Right now, I mean, the Sauce Gardner trade tells you what was close to his trade value. I don't know if you'd get 2 1s. I don't think you would for Trent McDuffie, but a 1 and a 2, 1 and 3, and maybe something else. I don't think you'd quite get the Tyreek Hill haul, but you could get a good haul for Trent McDuffie because he's cheap in this 5th-year option because his escalators were not favorable for him. So he's really cheap next year. He's going to be cheap in 2027 if you needed to use a franchise tag on him rather. If you had to tag him a third time, he's still not going to be that expensive for a shutdown corner. So he's got 3 more years of affordability. So now would be the time that if you're the Chiefs, this offseason would be the time to trade Trent McDuffie. If you want to get a bunch of picks and reboot and get another first-round pick, that's what this team could need. I would hate it because Trent McDuffie is awesome, but it's just a business reality, and it's exactly what the Chiefs did with Tyreek Hill. It was the right move. Trent McDuffie may go to another team and be fantastic, but and the Chiefs have more information on their players than they'll ever share or that we could possibly know about. But I was told by people in the organization about what Tyreek Hill's career curve to them looked like after the trade, and I would say that within about 6 months, it was exactly what they said. I mean, as far as when maybe Tyreek would start having the injuries pop up and when it would start affecting him and slowing him down and hey, that's why I think that trade looks even better in retrospect. I mean, Dolphins haven't won a Super Bowl. Tyreek had one really good season, second, pretty good season. He's been good, but he hasn't taken him anywhere. So I still feel like that was the right deal. I mean, you could make a similar deal for McDuffie, and maybe you get the resources that you need. Maybe you get a defensive tackle. Maybe you get another corner even. I mean, if you had 2 first-round picks, you could do exactly what the Chiefs did the last time around. They had 2 first-round picks after the Tyreek Hill trade. You get George Karlaftis and you get Trent McDuffie. They could do the exact same thing this time. I mean, that's the circle of life, I guess you could say. All right, Dog Petter, thank you very much. Thank you, all of you, for the super chats. Truly appreciate that. I'm gonna have to speed up if we're gonna go lightning round because I'm already way behind. But there's a little bit of a question in there, Steve, and glancing at kind of what we talked about. Will the Chiefs move McDuffie this offseason with the Colts trade for Sauce? Doing so would improve Casey's cap outlook and provide more draft capital. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, as far over the cap for the Chiefs that are as next year, and I'm trying to remember last time I looked, depending on the source, I think the Chiefs were about 40 to 45 million over the cap for next year. You would get a huge part of that back by restructuring Patrick Mahomes because he's got a huge 70 million plus cap number for next year. You can bring that down. You could rework Chris Jones. I mean, there's a couple of contracts right there that could pretty much get you all the way home. Chris has an option bonus in his contract for next year that could be converted to a signing bonus and save you 2/3, I think it is, of that money. I think that's like 13 million you could save there. There's a few other places that you could also get the money, but then I think you also only have 30 players under contract for next year. So, that's why you're also going to have to find some more resources. I mean, if the Chiefs, if the deal comes down to the Chiefs would have to make Trent McDuffie a $28 to $30 million a year player, I don't see how you do it. I just think it's one too many guys to pay. I feel like you made your decisions, and you made your decision to keep Karlaftis. And like I said to Dog Petter, that question, if you trade McDuffie and now you have 2 first-round picks next year, you can get a defensive tackle to try and play next to Chris Jones for now and to replace Chris Jones in the future, because that's coming up sooner than you realize. Get another corner. I mean, you could replace McDuffie with another first-round corner. You got to make the right decisions. But I mean, it's a tough decision. This is why GMs like Brett Veach, why they make the big bucks. You have the option possibility that it could go really, really well or really, really wrong. I mean, the Tyreek Hill trade, I think, obviously went really, really well for the Chiefs. That's exactly the same type of scenario that you're facing with Trent McDuffie this time around. A little bit different circumstances, but it's the same thing. I mean, it's like, do you make this guy one of the highest paid, players at his position in the league, or do you stockpile a bunch of picks? And I think what makes it a challenge is I mean, Trent McDuffie's size is going to make a difference, and that could be one of the issues that when you come to trading Trent McDuffie is that you may be limiting your pool a bit, because there might be some teams that are like, wait a minute, we'd trade for him if he was 6 foot or 6'1", but maybe we're not going to do it if he's 5'11". So that might impact his value a little bit. But you look at the numbers. I mean, Next Gen Stats says that he and Pat Surtain are the two best shutdown corners in the league this year. You get teams that buy into the advanced metrics, and Trent McDuffie's value is going to go way up. So it's a tough decision. I don't know what the Chiefs are going to do, but I'm understanding more and more why that if they choose to trade Trent McDuffie, I'll understand it. Clark Hunt, not mad, just disappointed. I mean, Clark's going to trust Brett to do what he does, so Clark's not going to necessarily tell Brett to make a trade, but I understand the sentiment. Is there an intentional priority, either from the team or media to lead with GEHA Field instead of Arrowhead in game stories and broadcasts, or is it purely situational? Good bye week question for you from you, Luttrell. It's some organizations just specifically go with, what is the official name of the field. So Associated Press, as I haven't looked at one of Dave Scretta's stories recently, or I've read them, but maybe it just doesn't register with me. I'm sure that they probably use GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium because that's the official name of the stadium. I know that there are some publications that try to avoid sponsorship names at all possible. Like I said, there are some media organizations that have a strict policy that whatever the name of the stadium is, that's what you call it. Then the organizations, the broadcast networks that have deals with the NFL, almost all of them have policies that you refer to the stadium as, by the name of it. I think I would probably fit into the situational category, Luttrell. I purposefully, because as a journalist, I do feel like there's a certain obligation to refer to a stadium by the actual name of the stadium. I run Chiefs Digest. I have my own policy guide, so I do it I have it on my own. So in print, I do refer to the stadium as GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium on a first reference. But second reference, it would always be Arrowhead. On social media, I get around it by tagging the account for the stadium, partly because it's fewer characters than the Arrowhead Stadium, so it saves me some real estate. But then, it says I think the account name is GEHA Field, so that at least kind of meets my criteria of trying to be accurate and true to what the name of the stadium is. And then, still saving some space. I mean, that's how I kind of do it. Now I will say, my local policy that I do outside of Arrowhead is that I typically do, if there is a way to name the stadium that does not have a sponsor name, if it is something like GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium, if it's a situation like that, I will usually leave off the sponsor portion of it. So, if I was running Broncos Digest, I'd refer to this place as Arrowhead Stadium. If it only has one name, like now, Orchard Park is Highmark Stadium. There's not really a way to get around it. Acrisure Stadium, there are more and more of them just don't have a way to get around it. Now the Chiefs have made it pretty clear that they're not going to part with the Arrowhead part of the name, unless you pay a lot of money. I think it's still available. I think if you want to pay triple the price, then they would probably say, "Hey, Arrowhead, yeah, it's not that important to us. As long as the check's cash, we'll change that." So, and with the new stadium, you never know what that they will do. But yes, you have picked up. There is a conglomeration. I'm not going to criticize or pick on anybody else's editorial policy. Some networks, some broadcasters, some publications, websites, whatever you name it, have their own policies about whether they identify sponsors or names or not. Some of them are inconsistent. Like I said, I guess I'm a little bit what you'd like. You said that electoral. I'm situational. I have a policy that I use at Chiefs Digest. It's maybe a little bit different than most, but it's what I do, and I run the site, so I get to do whatever I want to. Daniel, what are the chances that the Chiefs could sign Christian Wilkins when he's healthy? Feels like that's their only good option for upgrading the D line. I mean, that's the name that's out there, and healthy is the key. I mean, we really, nobody's heard anything from the Christian Wilkins camp as far as what his health is. We haven't gotten the tweet out there. Last week we did get from the Katz brothers. They put out there that, hey, Jody Fortson's healthy and ready to sign. He's available. We haven't seen a tweet like that from the agent for Christian Wilkins. So I don't know if he's healthy or not. One would assume that if he were healthy, that he would be on an NFL roster by now. But that would be, I mean, from a free agent standpoint, that's the one name that's out there that's a possibility that you could certainly go out and get. And again, I mean, are the Chiefs interested? I mean, I know that they had Antonio Pearson at training camp, and he was his coach last year. So I am sure that the topic of Christian Wilkins came up when Antonio Pierce was here. And hey, was that yay or nay? I don't know. I've certainly have poked around. I have not had anybody tell me specifically whether that was a good review or a bad review. I don't know, and I don't think we're going to know until Christian Wilkins is healthy, and then we'll see where he ends up. But is that an option? Could that improve the Chiefs' defense? I mean, at some point, I would think that it is going to be an option. I know, like I mentioned before in the past, original word was that around midseason, maybe between around week 7 was the expectation when Christian Wilkins could be healthy. Obviously, we're past that now, so maybe it could be any time. Maybe he's not going to be healthy this year. We don't know. So we'll see what happens. Not technically a question, Bumpa, but I saw this, and I'm sure some others will probably have this idea too, or and asking about it. But never seen Chiefs Twitter more mad than it is right now with the Breece Hall situation. I don't know how you don't just give the Jets a third. And this will be where I do throw out my don't always take everything you hear verbatim. That not everything that we hear is 100% true. And that's the most common. I mean, I know it's out there, from the New York side of things that's been reported from a lot of New York reporters that the Chiefs were interested in Breece Hall, that the Jets were holding firm to a third, that the Chiefs weren't willing to go, higher than a fourth. I mean, and sometimes those things can be true from a certain point of view. But remember too, I mean, the Chiefs, the expectation is, even with the Chiefs being 5-4 right now, most teams are going to be thinking to themselves, the Chiefs are, drafting late in the third round. They're going to be drafting late. Just because Jets said that, they were asking for a third, there might be some words missing out there. The Jets might have been saying that, we want a first half of the draft third. We don't want a second half of the draft third. We don't want number 30. We don't want number 32. So if it was the Chiefs that were offering, I mean, very well, the Jets may have just even dismissively thought of the 32nd pick in the third round. They might have just dismissively think of that as a fourth. Most teams do. I mean, we talk about the third round comp picks. I mean, most teams consider those fourth round picks. They don't think of it. They don't consider them third round picks. I mean, do I know for certain that the Chiefs were interested in Breece Hall? I imagine that they were, because why wouldn't they? But I haven't heard, we haven't seen anybody from the Chiefs side of things, put it on the record. I mean, most of the reporting that I have seen, a lot of it has come from the Jets side, and I don't dispute it. But I like I said, I mean, one thing I've been told by a sage person in these situations who's very familiar with how negotiations go and how this trade deadline goes, has reminded me often and reminded me again, don't believe everything you hear. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and definitely not all of it's true. And sometimes, I mean, let's put it this way too. I mean, if you're the Jets and you're trying to move Breece Hall, the best way to move Breece Hall is to let every other NFL team know the Chiefs are involved. That's how. I mean, there have been a lot of players. There have been many players that I know for a fact that the Chiefs were not interested in, but either the agent or the other team, leaked it to someone, indicated to someone to get the story out there that the Chiefs were interested, just to drive up the value of the player. Whether it's the agent trying to get more money or it's the team trying to get a better draft pick out of somebody, the Chiefs are the boogeyman. You say the Chiefs are interested when you're trying to get somebody else to jack up their price. Jets could have had a bunch of fourth round offers. Maybe that was the case, and they want somebody to move up from a fourth and said, well, you know what, Chiefs are interested, so you better offer something better than the Chiefs are going to be offering if you want this guy. If it didn't work, maybe Breece Hall was not available. Maybe the Jets backed out at the very end. Maybe they decided that, eventually, whether it was a third or a fourth, maybe they decided that wasn't worth it. I don't know. But usually when things come from one side of the equation and one side of the story than the other, usually there is another version on the other side, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. So I'm not completely convinced that, the Jets were asking for a 3 and the Chiefs were 4 is the whole story. Maybe there's more to it than that, and maybe we'll find out later. But there's enough deflection going on from the Chiefs side of things, at least that I've at least kind of gathered and what's been given to me. No one's flat out come out and said, no, that didn't happen. But like I said, there's a lot of just don't believe everything you hear. Pono, I guess Brett is tanking the season by not doing anything again. He can't possibly think that we're going to be a factor with the current roster. Ugh. Well, I mean, there's two reasons why Brett Veach would not make a deal at the trade deadline, and those are the two reasons why it doesn't surprise me a ton. One is that the Chiefs have zero cap space, not literally, but figuratively. They've got, I think now, depending on the source, you're looking at a little under $4 million in cap space. Probably even maybe a little bit less than that, because the real numbers are usually a little bit less than what's out there publicly, either via the NFLPA or Spotrac or over the cap. That's, I mean, that's one factor. So there was a lot of players that the Chiefs might have been interested in that would have been very, very difficult to make it work. I think even Quinnen Williams. I mean, if that was the one that the Chiefs were interested in, which is another rumored possibility, his contract, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, they would have had to make some other adjustments to get that one in. And then there's even the 2026 problem, because he's owed a lot of money in 2026. And I mean, if you think you can't sign Trent McDuffie, then you're definitely not signing Trent McDuffie after you trade for Quinnen Williams. So that was one. Two, the Chiefs, I mean, they right now, they don't even have all of their draft picks for the next few years. I mean, they've given up some third day picks for some acquisitions here and there. I need to go back through and update my lists about just what draft picks that they do have in the next 3 seasons. But right now, my recollection is that they don't have a full complement. There might be a season where they do have 7 picks, but it's because I think maybe they've got 2 7s. There's some conditional trades that they're going to have to figure out what picks they end up with. So that's not always locked in stone. But that's it. I mean, why didn't they do anything? I mean, they were going to have a player that they wanted, that they could afford, that the draft pick compensation matched up. And the Chiefs did not want to go overboard in either one. They did not really want to acquire a contract that was going to require more than what they have available. They didn't want to pick up somebody that's got $8 million remaining on their contract this year, because they only have like $4 million available. So they didn't want to do that. And again, they didn't want to throw around a bunch of draft picks. I mean, if it required a pick and a player, I think that they would have been okay with that. But they just didn't have much of the resources. And, and honestly, I mean, they've made moves before. I mean, did any of them pay off? I mean, I'll say that, at least in my memory and what I'm going through, and, when I've talked about this in the past, I mean, the only midseason acquisition that I can really say that I think won the Chiefs a Super Bowl was Kadarius Toney. And Kadarius Toney just did that with like 2 plays. Would somebody else have made those plays? I don't know. But I think you can certainly say that 2022 Chiefs won a Super Bowl because they had Kadarius Toney. Was that worth the trade? I think so. But some of the other midseason acquisitions, I don't think any of them moved the needle. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins moved the needle that much, and obviously it didn't result in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, I'm cynical. I'm elitist. I mean, it's the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to win a Super Bowl every year. If a move that they made didn't translate into them winning a Super Bowl, then it wasn't really a deal that made the needle move. I mean, D-Hop is the most successful midseason addition Andy Reid and Brett Veach have ever had, and that wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, that wasn't a significant contribution. Like I said, I mean, I would almost say that Kadarius Toney was bigger because he contributed to a Super Bowl, and you can argue that maybe they don't win that game without 2 big plays from Kadarius Toney. Anybody else? I mean, Le'Veon Bell, LaShawn McCoy, Orlando Scandrick. I mean, he was a training camp acquisition, but I'd still put him in that same category. I mean, I'm starting to feel more and more that just midseason acquisitions are really highly overrated. I mean, I just don't know that they really move the needles that much. So I get why Brett Veach stayed pat. I mean, is this Chiefs team good enough to win a Super Bowl? We're going to find out. And maybe 2020 hindsight will say that this was the wrong move, that he should have gone out and gotten somebody. Ida Brown, do you think that Simmons will practice or have individual drills during the bye week? That will be interesting, Ida Brown, because, I mean, the Chiefs don't do much this week. The coaches and execs, I mean, even support staff, all usually have a few days off here and there. There might be nobody in the building, right now. I mean, there could be a couple of days. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they have even like some of the athletic trainers might rotate a little bit. I'd have to ask about that. And there might be a few players who are not going anywhere. They may be going to come in and work out. But this week through like Friday, I mean, really, working out is about lifting some weights. Would be the most you would do. If there's a coach around, maybe you can go out and go on the field and run through some drills. You're not going to usually do that by yourself. He might be doing it on his own, but probably not a ton. I mean, this week would probably be just a little bit of, working out, getting in shape, that kind of thing. I don't know what kind of football shape he's in. I don't know what he's been doing while he's been away, but at least for the next few days, I didn't get a full update on what the Chiefs are doing this week. Usually after a bye week, everybody starts filtering in on Saturday. They may have a walkthrough on Saturday. Usually on Sunday, they do kind of a pretend game. They just kind of come in and act like they would and run a practice, workout, not really a practice, but more of a workout, run through like they would do on a game day. And then, Monday goes into a regular week. I mean, they wouldn't have a true official practice until Wednesday. They, like I said, might have some walkthroughs that they're going to do, but nothing full speed. So I'd be surprised if he's doing much this week. Like I said, it might be this weekend that, some of the other players are coming in, the coaches are back in the building, that maybe he might do a few things on Saturday and Sunday. But I don't think there'd be a whole lot. I think this week would mostly for him is going to be just kind of acclimation, getting back in the swing of things and getting settled in and getting in, probably, like I said, lifting some weights, getting in shape, and then go from there. Jesus with the super chat. What can the Chiefs fix during the bye week? Good question, because I don't think that the things that you're trying to fix, I don't think they're 1 week fixes. I don't think they're just quick turnarounds. Most of the things that you're trying to tweak and to fix are probably longer term projects and probably game to game projects, things that you're going to need to experiment with. I mean, let's take, for example, the Chiefs defense got just absolutely destroyed by Buffalo's tight ends. I mean, we may look back at that later and say, well, you know what? Problem is just that the Chiefs are a really bad matchup for Buffalo's tight ends. They've got at least 2 really good ones. Maybe Jackson Hawes is a really good one too. So maybe they got 3 really good tight ends. Maybe that's it. Like I said, the players aren't there. So during the bye week, most of their fixes during the bye week is going to be the coaches on their own, kind of going through film, looking at that Buffalo game. They're going to be looking at all the other games too. They're going to be going through cut-ups of everything and just trying to see, hey, what's been going wrong this season? Where have they struggled? They're going to look at the numbers. Mike Frazier's going to, give them scenarios and say, hey, this is a down and distance that is good for you. Here's a down and distance that's bad for you. Here's a situation. This is what you're doing against nickel, dime. Here's what you're doing with nickel and dime. Here's how this guy's performing in this spot, but this guy's probably better in this other spot. I mean, you're getting all the data, you're getting all the cut-ups that you're going through, and you're, trying to fix things. But the solutions, I mean, like I said, I think they're longer term, more than 1 week. But, hey, are the Chiefs, are we going to hear from, Brett Veach, like Steve Spagnuolo next week when the Chiefs are back? Are we going to hear from him that, hey, yeah, you know what? You got to tighten up that defense on tight ends because it stunk. Yeah, you're going to. I think you should probably be pretty happy with the run defense. I mean, it took 27 carries for James Cook to get to 114 yards. I mean, that's not as bad as it could have been. It's not as bad as what Carolina did the week before. There might be some things in there that you look at and you feel like there are positives. The Chiefs, offensively, they've got to figure out why they had struggled so much in the pass game. They got to figure out why they struggled in pass protection. They're going to have to, and again, is that personnel? Is that injuries? Is that illnesses? You finished that game with 1 healthy offensive lineman and Creed Humphrey. Was that your entire problem? But did Patrick just have a bad day? You're going to go through all of those things, but even some of these solutions, like, the Chiefs tightening up their tight end defense. I wonder why Jaden Hicks, I think, had 4 snaps against the Bills. I wonder about that because Jaden Hicks is a good type of guy to have, playing tight ends. He's a physical guy and a smart player, and I think he would be normally pretty well equipped for that. So was there a reason why he wasn't on the field? Would that have made a difference? You're going to look at that. So there's a lot of things, Jesus. And like I said, I don't think there's any one thing that you fix during a bye week. I think you get kind of a laundry list of things that you want to work on and fix. And some of them may mean, you experiment with rotations. You experiment with certain players in certain spots, certain responsibilities, try to figure out what they're best at, who they work well with. Chiefs may still be in the secondary. It seems like that their secondary right now is mostly matchup related. They play the corners, and outside of Trent McDuffie, they play the corners and the safeties that they feel have the best chance of success that week. But they may not have figured all that out yet. They may still have some things to figure out as far as, what's the best rotation? What's the best matchup in certain situations? I'm not certain that they have figured all of that out yet. I mean, as well as the defense played, I think that this game kind of showed that the Chiefs have not shown to this point a 100% settled defensive secondary rotation. They haven't shown at this point a 100% finished defensive line rotation. But the only thing they really kind of know what they are doing with everybody is at linebacker. And injuries can affect that. So, I mean, those are the kind of things that you got to fix. And like I said, I mean, those to me aren't necessarily always 1 week fixes. These might be things that you continue to work on the rest of the regular season. And, if things go badly, there might be things that you're still trying to fix in January. So, Brian, how will Spags fix the elephants in the room? The S and Tranquil covering the tight ends and running backs. I assume we're talking about safeties. Leading right in from what I was talking about there a little bit with Jesus's question. I mean, it's one, the Chiefs had covered tight ends really, really well up until the Buffalo game. I mean, they were top 5 as far as yards allowed to tight ends. They'd only given up 1 touchdown to a tight end all season. They'd done a really good job. Buffalo found a way to exploit that, and Buffalo has done that in the past. It's not the first time. They kind of figured out a good way to open up the middle of the field. They got 2 or 3 tight ends who are really good at exploiting that and finding zones that they can kind of, squeeze into. I was really, I mean, Josh Allen had a great play on one of them. The one for, I think it was the Jackson Hawes play, when, Bolton had coverage on him. Allen starts to take off in the pocket. Bolton's responsibility, and there was apparently to come off the tight end to make sure that Allen doesn't take off. I don't know if he was truly a spy necessarily, but looked like his responsibility was to come off the tight end. Somebody else was supposed to pick up the tight end. Nobody did. I mean, those are breakdowns that you got to fix. And they've had some of those breakdowns, as far as, communication and chemistry between the secondary and the linebackers before. I mean, they had a couple of them against Washington with the running backs in coverage. And that's one area where the Chiefs have really struggled. I think they were going into the Buffalo game. I've not looked at it the last couple of days. They were number 22 in the coverage against running backs as far as yards allowed to running backs receiving this year. That's a struggle. So, yeah, I mean, I felt like that maybe a little bit of it was the room that some teams were taking advantage of with the running backs in the passing game. The Bills just kind of extrapolated to the tight ends. I mean, they were just like, okay, let's do this. And with their run game, they can do it. I mean, you're going to have your eyes in the backfield on James Cook. You're going to have your eyes downfield on guys like Shakir. And all of a sudden you've got, like you said, you've got safeties and linebackers covering tight ends in the middle of the field. And that can be a mismatch, and especially in man-to-man coverage. And it looked like some of the big plays, I saw a little bit of both. I mean, I saw looked like some man coverage breakdowns, because a linebacker and a tight end is usually in favor of the tight end. There were some zones that just looked like they weren't tight enough. The safeties found the open spot and made a play. But you got to figure out how to tighten those up. You got to close those windows. As Steve Spagnuolo would say, you can't let them have that wide of a window to make a play. Kevin, why are the Chiefs playing so poorly on the road this year, doing fine at home, looking like a different team on the road? And I mean, I do think the numbers bear that out. I mean, the Chiefs have obviously lost to the Eagles at home. I guess that's their only home loss, right? I mean, some of it is, it's just teams typically do better at home than on the road. I mean, there's a little bit of that. I mean, going back through it again, I mean, I still take the Brazil game and throw it out the window. International games, even if you are the road team in an international game, which the Chiefs were in Brazil, they're unpredictable. You never know. They are equalizers. Anybody can beat anybody on the road. The Jets could win, I'm sure, a game overseas. So, I mean, it's just too many random things can happen. So that one doesn't really bother me. You lose the one score game against the Eagles, who are a really good team, Super Bowl champs. I mean, should the Chiefs have serve there at home? Probably. They weren't full strength yet. I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just, pointing out kind of what led to the loss. I mean, the Baltimore game rather, and the Detroit wins. I mean, both of them. I mean, the Ravens were banged up defensively, but they had their offense. The Lions had their offense, and the Chiefs just absolutely defense dismantled both of those. I mean, they broke the Ravens. They didn't necessarily completely break the Lions, but they broke the Ravens. So, I mean, again, at home. On the road, I mean, I think they have definitely played down to their opponents, or to a little bit. And then again, they've had some tough games. I can't explain the Jacksonville game. The Jacksonville game still makes no sense to me. But they haven't had that many true road games, because the one road game against the Chargers was overseas. Buffalo is a tough road game. They've got more road games in the second half of the season, but I'll tell you what, I mean, once again, none of the games that they have on the road in the second half of the season are tougher than what they just experienced in Buffalo. The toughest road game that they've got in the second half of the season is the next one up at Denver. Their second toughest game is at home. I mean, to me, it's the one against the Colts. After that, everything else is below that, even the road games. So, I mean, that's why I'm bullish. I'm bullish on the second half of this season, because I do think that overall this Chiefs offense is playing well. I don't think that there's a lot of defenses that they've got on the schedule that can do what the Bills did to them. It was a tough environment, always is. Game plan obviously plays into it a little bit. And again, I mean, I don't think that the Chiefs hold anything back necessarily, but I do think that they learn a lot from this game against Buffalo, and they're better prepared for it the second time around. And I think that game meant more to Buffalo than it did to the Chiefs. So I know I mean, some of that, Kevin, like I said, I mean, there's a long way of saying that, hey, road games are just more difficult than home games. I don't know if we really know what kind of a road team this team is yet, because they just haven't been on the road enough. They're going to be more on the road more in the second half of the season. That's the one challenge that they do have, is that they've got some road games coming up. So let's see what we learn from them. But I'm not that concerned about it yet. I think this team is going to be relatively fine on the road. We'll find out at Denver. If they beat Denver, then I mean, I'm going to be pretty hyper on this team going the rest of the way. I mean, I'll if they beat Denver, there's no reason why they shouldn't go 8-0 the rest of the way. 7-1 should absolutely be the minimum expectation. But I've got high expectations for this team. I'll admit it. Daniel, may sound stupid, but who actually scouted Mahomes? The Chiefs website back in 2017 gave credit to area scout Willie Davis with no mention of Brett Veach. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, I can tell you from, all the conversations that I've had over the years about, how at least that worked and everything. As the story goes, and everybody's got a little bit different version of the story, but what I have at least been consistently told is the lore about when Patrick Mahomes ended up on the Chiefs' radar was at the end of the 2016 NFL draft. That Brett Veach was going through film from the 2015 college football season and looking at players who were going to be in the 2017 NFL draft. And this was like on Sunday, I think it was, after the draft. And as the story goes, that Andy Reid walked by his office, poked his head in, and said, "Hey, Veach, what are you up to?" And Veach said, "Hey, I just found your next quarterback. Just found our next quarterback," and because he was watching tape with Mahomes. Willie Davis at that time would have been the area scout for Texas Tech, so he would have been the guy, the college scout, an area scout that saw him. But everybody saw him. I don't know. I mean, with his role at the time, Brett may not have gone out on the road, and I'm not sure I've ever been told that Mahomes that Veach went out on the road to have any scouting. I do know that John Dorsey went undercover at the Texas Tech Iowa State game because he likes to watch quarterbacks in person and wants to see them, but he didn't want to make it overt because he didn't want to give away any indications. Most of the time when GMs or scouts go to scout college football games, they sit in the press box. If they're a GM, and the stadium's big enough, they'll give them a suite, because it's not like there's 3 GMs at every college game. Usually there might be only one general manager, if any, going to any particular college game. I think I read that there was a general manager, I'm trying to remember who, but went to the Missouri Vanderbilt game in Nashville. There was just one. I mean, I don't know that there's been a GM that's has come to a Mizzou game this year at home, and maybe there was, but they're not very many. There's just so many of them go around. So when they do go on the road, it's rare during a football season. I mean, GMs usually can't get away, but if they do, they usually get taken care of pretty well. And like I said, scouts with teams almost always sit in the press box. You'll see, if you're in the press box for a college game, you'll see the seating chart, and there'll be a section where all the scouts sit, and there might be 1, 2, 3, 24. I mean, depending on that marquee game and the nature of it. So Willie Davis would have been the scout. Like I said, John Dorsey went because he wanted to see Mahomes in person. He wanted to see all the quarterbacks in person. I believe he went to go see others in person too. I don't know what the logistics were. I don't know if he went to go see Deshaun Watson and he went undercover for that one. But obviously the Chiefs all along with Mahomes, even going back to that 2016, first scouting of Mahomes, they wanted to be discreet about that. So they didn't want to advertise it. So Dorsey dressed up as an Iowa State fan, got an Iowa State hoodie, and just sat in stands. He didn't want to be in the press box. So he sat in the stands to watch Mahomes against Texas Tech because he didn't want anybody to know that general manager of Chiefs is here. So got a hat and a hoodie and went out and just sat in the stands and tried to make sure nobody knows who he was. And that's why, I mean, hey, you give credit to a lot of people for Mahomes, but no doubt, I mean, Brett Veach and John Dorsey deserve the most credit. Veach was the one that first brought him to the attention. I would imagine because Willie Davis was the scout. I am sure Willie Davis had scouting reports filed on Mahomes. I've never seen them or heard what was in them, but I'm sure there's probably pretty good chance they were good reports. But it was, I mean, Veach gets the credit for being the guy who saw the tape, saw the film, brought it to Andy Reid, brought it to John Dorsey and said, this is the guy we need to go draft. And Dorsey, to his credit, made it happen. Let's see where we are going next. I'm now feeling pretty good about myself because now that I have this great little, I don't know if you all enjoy this or like it, the comments that are coming up on here. I'm at least keeping better track of what's going on in the discussions, and so now I'm like seeing things that have come up because I already saw Casey Harold saying you've never seen me on Sport Coffee. You will never see me on Sport Coffee. The only thing you're going to see is I am on Milo's iced tea tonight. You might occasionally see me on Dr. Pepper if things are going badly. You know what? I was scanning for questions. I was going to check. Might be able to make this work. We're going to see here. I don't know anybody who has saw it, but Nick has launched a TikTok account. And of course, we are going to support that. So, tell you what, I'm going to try and see if I can bring it up here just as like a little surprise for all of you. I am doing this with Nick's permission. Let's see. I know the last time, sometimes when we try this, we get varying results because sometimes the audio and video ends up being a little choppy. But Nick posted kind of his introductory TikTok. It looks like the file is invalid. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. So Here's what you obviously all need to do. Let me pull it up and make sure I get it all right and everything. You need to go check out Nick's TikTok. Now he did post this on Instagram as well, so you can go to. But I don't know how high Nick has his Instagram setting, so I don't know. I mean, you may be a fan thing, and he may not want people on his Instagram page. I don't know. I mean, Nick, I love him, but he does. I mean, he may not have wanted me to mention the Instagram thing. So, Jedi mind trick. You didn't hear that. What is his TikTok address? See, I don't have TikTok. I'm still a little worried about the spying and everything. I'm probably overly worried about that, but it's just Jacobs71. So Jacobs71, there you go. Check that out on TikTok. And it's if people think that Nick is too serious or too stodgy or anything like that, like any of these weird things I've heard about Nick in the past, because you don't know his true side, the TikToks will blow your mind. So I know he's got a second one that he was working on today. I don't know if it's up yet, but I know the first one, #nature, is up. So it's a must see. So that's all I'm saying. So if you are a Nick Jacobs fan, you need to go check that out. If you are not a Nick Jacobs fan, you should be a Nick Jacobs fan, and you should go visit and follow him on TikTok. So we'll get that. I'll get that figured out next week. We'll have it. Nick is also we got a couple of things with Nick going on, since I wanted to make sure you all knew about, that, hey, Nick still has the promise that he now says that it's like 2 or 3 episodes that I have to do in under an hour before he'll come back. I need to go back and check the audio. I thought it was 1, but I'm hoping that if I get one day that I can talk him into it. But we're also have been having a discussion, because one of you made the great suggestion, and I wish I could remember who it was so I could give you credit for it, of having a hashtag in the discussion of Ask Nick, that you would tag your questions with Ask Nick. And if you do that, then we just have Nick come in for half an hour, answer all of his Nick questions, and then get out of here without having to put up with all of my long-winded nonsense. So that's a possibility. Nick is also, I don't know if he got to do it today. He did send me a text that says #nature. But he's also talking about just contributing some Hy-Vee fines, even without us. And he's going to do Hy-Vee fines on TikTok. So that's going to be a regular feature. So we'll occasionally, once I get the format figured out, we'll do some Nick Jacobs TikToks and videos over here, and just promote the great Nick Jacobs and all of his wonderful creativity. And then you all can see there's a different side of Nick that many of you have just not yet learned to appreciate. So he comes in to do the Q&A out of the goodness of his heart on his day off. And like I said, he just gets a little worn out by my occasionally 3-hour long, revolution type Q&As. So now that I've not answered a question for like 5 minutes, let's get it back into it. Joe, the CEH elevation confused me. You're not alone. I would have given anything to bet that Elijah Mitchell was going to be elevated for that game. You could have knocked me over for a feather when the Chiefs elevated Clyde. They kept it hidden secret pretty well. Even Clyde. I mean, Clyde declined the chance. I know someone asked him to do he's been asked to do interviews regularly since he came back, and he's declined all of those requests. And we generally, even though players are technically required once a week to talk to reporters, we are a very cordial group in Kansas City, and more so with Clyde, because we do all understand his history and his mental health, and we want to respect that. So if Clyde does not want to talk, and he's on the practice squad, so we don't push it. There's no reason to. So I think we try to be as gracious as we can with Clyde, and that's with anyone that has those concerns. I mean, we don't try to be a jerk on everything. We're a jerk about some things. I'm a jerk about some things. But we try to be understanding. But Clyde, I know he was asked to talk last week and declined at least once. It could have been more than once. But so I was surprised. I mean, I probably should have been surprised a little bit when I was hanging out looking for Elijah and wanting to talk to him last week, and he kind of looked like he was avoiding his locker. He was talking to some of the offensive linemen, and then I tried to kind of butt myself into that, and then he kind of walked away. And I've talked to Elijah this year. I mean, I think he's been really good to me. We've had good conversations. I talked to him very briefly last week, but this was the first week that I really thought he was going to have a chance to play and didn't. So I was confused, and like Nick and I talked about on the pod on 41 is the mic this week, I was just as baffled by what the Chiefs apparently told Tracy Wolfson, which was that they elevated him for this game because of his past success against Buffalo. And honestly, I mean, his best success against Buffalo was 5 years and one major injury ago. He's not that guy anymore. He's not the same guy that had 100 yards against Buffalo back in 2020 in his rookie season. I mean, the injuries have taken their toll, and the injury that season and later that season took its toll. So hasn't been the same guy. I was confused. I mean, I think it's legitimate. I mean, I will not word it this way because it's not a professional way to word it, but a question that's going to be asked of Andy Reid next week is certainly going to be, if you're not playing Elijah Mitchell now, what's he doing around here? You say he's healthy. There's no reason not to. What do you need to see? What are you missing in that running back room that you need, and why doesn't Elijah Mitchell have it? Like I said, I mean, I was really baffled by that. And it's not maybe the most important thing in the world. Third running back is not necessarily going to make or break a game. But, I mean, I did not get it. I didn't understand the two plays, the two touches that he had. I mean, I didn't see any great need for that. But I still don't know what you have in Elijah Mitchell. But then again, I still don't know what you have in Brashard Smith. I still like what I've seen from Brashard Smith. I want to see more of it. I don't know what you got to do to get to see more of that. But Alicia, does it seem like Worthy's development has stalled a little bit? I'll just go ahead and answer that before we get to part two. I don't get that feeling. I mean, I think that one for sure. I mean, even though he's not on the injury report, and Chiefs say he's good to go and everything's great. I mean, Worthy is still wearing the sling and everything on for that shoulder. I mean, I would be surprised if he's ever 100% with that shoulder this season. So I think that's a little bit of it, and two, I mean, his production. I would not have been disappointed if his production went down this year, because remember, there were times last year he was literally the only receiver that this team had, the only legitimate target that they had. And now, I mean, everybody got to eat, and everybody's going to get the ball. I will say, I mean, and I was kind of surprised it hasn't been asked yet. Maybe the question will be coming up later. I don't know how much to take from, I think was it Hairston? I don't want to misquote the player that said it, but I believe it was from the Bills game that said that Worthy had some tells as far as whether or not a play was a run play or a pass play, and whether or not he was a primary target because of his body language and how he kind of lined up and ran the play. I'd have to watch it a little bit more closely to see if I agree with that. It's very possible that it is. I don't know if I'm a player, I'd be saying that, because usually if you pick up a tell on somebody, you don't want them to know about it. But if there's some of that, then that's worrisome. So maybe he didn't have that as much last year because he was involved in pretty much every play. But if I want to go back and watch the film this week, and watch Worthy and see if I can tell anything about that. But I don't think that the development has stalled. I mean, if he had a step back in numbers this year, I would have expected that, just simply because this team has more weapons. This team has more options. He doesn't have to do as much as he did last year. Doesn't mean that he couldn't take a step back in numbers, but still be a better player. And I factor in the injury too. And he's also, I think he was also, I think his ankle that he tweaked a few weeks ago. So he was on the injury report with that as well. He has not been completely healthy this year. So that can be a fact. I think all those things are a little bit of factors that are probably affecting his numbers a little bit. But I have no concerns about his development. I think Xavier is still coming along fine. Injuries, big part of it. Jimmy's, here we are once again facing our typical offensive line woes. Am I wrong for feeling like the Chiefs O-line will always be a puzzle that never gets solved? Thank you, Jimmy's. I mean, I feel like the Chiefs are close to it. I mean, when Josh Simmons was in there, I mean, obviously the offensive line was playing pretty darn well. This game, you went into this game knowing that Jalen Moore was dealing with an illness, so probably not 100%. Juwan Taylor tweaked his ankle a week or two ago, so he's been dealing with that, and it was probably not 100%. In addition, he's always dealing with the knee, so that's an issue. Trey Smith with the back. He was getting treatments on the sideline during the game to keep that back from tightening up and spasming on him. And I completely get that because I know I'm old and out of shape, but hey, if I'm on my feet standing for too long in one place or standing on the sideline for as long as they may have to stand, while the drives are going on and commercial breaks, there are times just working around the yard, I could use something on my back to keep it from tightening up and spasming. So I understand, when you got an injury, that would be a big help. So Trey's got that, Kingsley tweaked. I can't remember what it was that I think was it the ankle, I think. So he comes out of the game. You didn't have a healthy offensive line last against Buffalo. Wasn't the entire game. There were some guys who entered the game a little bit banged up, and then just guys kept getting more and more banged up as the game went on. So hey, it's always going to, I will agree. I think it's always going to be a puzzle, Jimmy's. It absolutely will. It's just, I think it's more close to being solved now than it has been in a few years. We'll see. I mean, I still feel like that this group has got a lot of good talent. I mean, you've got Creed, you got Trey, that you feel like if they're healthy, that they're reliable players. And in 2026, with the progress that Kingsley looks like he has made, if Josh Simmons is the guy that he looked like during the first 5 games of the year, then you're going to be pretty happy with what you got at left tackle. Right tackle, most likely is going to be Jalen Moore next year. I think that Jalen Moore is going to be a good tackle. So I think it's closer to getting solved. I mean, you'd still, I think, like to have, more depth at tackle, and that's probably something that the Chiefs will address, I think. If it's not in the draft next year, it probably will be soon. You're looking for a long-term solution at right tackle. Jalen Moore under contract for one more season. So, I mean, you gotta address the long-term needs. So I feel like that they're in a better point that they've been for a while. But I mean, Jimmy's, you want to make sure, and this is what Brett Veach said after the 2020 Super Bowl, you want to make sure that Patrick Mahomes is never running for his life. And so if that's your goal, and that protecting Mahomes like that is your goal, then it's always going to be a work in progress. You're never going to be settled because there's probably always going to be a position that you want to upgrade. There are probably backups that you want to upgrade. It's always going to be a work in progress. Cole, I just saw you came in with the super chat. I'm going to come to you next. Appreciate that greatly. I realized I forgot to answer Alicia's second question, but I think I kind of answered it accidentally with the next question. Was the offensive line the biggest issue you saw for the reason Mahomes and the receivers did so poorly this week? I don't think there was any doubt that was a big part of it. Give the credit to the Bills. I mean, they played very, very well. They played sticky coverage, so they did a good job there. The pocket was not as clean as Mahomes has had in the past. There looked to be some just confusion and miscommunication at times. Um, could that have been, a case of just some guys, being in the wrong place? I mean, I remember, there was like a little dump off screen for Brashard Smith that hit, Trey in the head. It's just mistiming. Hey, and did Mahomes just have a bad day? I'm not aware of any injury, but hey, it was just the ball not coming out well. Was his arm just having a day? I don't know. It could have been a lot of all of those things, but I think, to your point, when you've got offensive linemen coming in and out and you've got guys that are banged up and inconsistent, I did not see the comfort level from Mahomes in the pocket that he's had most of the season. So I think you could probably start there, and then a lot of other things were the secondary problem. So Cole, not even a question, just a super chat, Cole. That is very kind of you. I truly appreciate the support, my friend. It's very, very kind of you to say. I do certainly try my best. Try to never lead any of you all wrong. Try to ask good questions. Sometimes I apparently sometimes I don't, because people get mad at me. At least I think they're good questions. I mean, I try. There's every once in a while I will blow one. Here's a good example. I just, choosing this moment, Cole, to embarrass myself. But if you're one of those hardcores that listens to every questions during the press conferences, Friday I was trying to ask Juju just about the complementary football that the Chiefs have been playing lately, which is just that the defense has been doing a good job of getting off the field. The offense, has been able to kind of, play in a rhythm. I mean, this is the best, what coaches call complementary football that I've seen in a long time. I was trying to ask this question, just, how valuable is that to the offense, that when the defense is playing like this, the offense is holding on to the football with their long drives, then the defense is doing their job and you're able to milk the clock and do all these things. And I just started getting things crossed up as they were coming out of my mouth. And I saw the look on Juju's face there for a moment that he did not have. He was confused by my question. And I just kind of started trying to pull myself out of it. And then I saw this flicker in his eyes that it was just like he got it all of a sudden, what I was trying to say. And I talked to him afterwards, and I said, I saw that flicker, because I said, you pulled it out. I mean, you said you had an incredible answer to a terrible question. And I said, but I saw that flicker in your eyes that it was like you knew what I was trying to say, even though I was expressing it very, very poorly. And he's like, yeah, no, I got you, brother. So not all my questions are winners, Cole. I was just telling that, but truly appreciate it. I try my best. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, but I always try to make sure that everything I report to you is true and accurate, and not guesses and not speculation. It's what I hear and what I believe, that what my sources. I think that I'm pretty proud that I've been able to develop a good set of sources and everything over the years. So that's my very poor answer to what wasn't really a question, Cole. But I truly appreciate the support. I always appreciate the kind words, and I know many of you who are here have been directed here by Cole, so I appreciate that. Let's see. Truly appreciate the super chat, Cole. Thank you very much. I may have skipped a question here, but I'll come back to you, Jimmy's. I think there's no, that was exactly where we kept up here. Jackson, what's more likely, a contract extension for Jalen Watson or McDuffie? Jalen would be cheaper for sure. That's a good question. I mean, because Jalen would be cheaper. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, I'm not entirely. I mean, I have no reason to believe that there's anything sideways between the Chiefs and Jalen Watson. And I mean, players in contract years, they're always going to say the right things, but hey, Jalen Watson's just like any other player in a contract year. He's looking around at the other deals the corners are around the league are getting and wondering how that's going to apply to him. And I think he's going to be really interesting, because I don't know what kind of a deal that Jalen Watson's going to get. I I think the rest of the season could play a big role in it. Obviously, he needs to finish it healthy. That's going to be a big part of it. But I feel like if Jalen Watson continues with the season that he's had on the track that he's had, I think he's going to get a decent deal. I mean, corners on the free agent market that have proven production get paid. I mean, he's not going to be a $30 million corner. No. The funny thing is that I think I would probably put him in the category of Christian Fulton and maybe the same amount of kind of money. If anything, you would say that even though Jalen Watson has some injuries, he's played through them a lot more than Christian Fulton's been able to. So I think that would even add to his value a little bit. I'll have to check and see. I haven't looked at it yet, like what Spotrac and some other places do as far as, estimated value on the open market. I mean, I would assume that he could potentially be in the kind of $10 to $15 million category. My feeling all along was that, the Chiefs, when they made that 2-year deal for Christian Fulton, it was with the idea that he was going to be the competition to push Jalen Watson. They were okay if Christian Fulton was the third corner this year. They just wanted to have 3 corners that they trusted. And if Jalen beat him out, great. But then they knew that the second year of Christian Fulton was just as important as the first. And especially if you don't know that you're going to be keeping Trent McDuffie. So, I mean, is it a possibility, Jackson, that you sign Jalen Watson and you trade Trent McDuffie, and next year Jalen Watson and Christian Fulton are your corners? Distinctly possible. I mean, I think obviously there would still be some injury concerns, but the Chiefs also seem to be pretty happy with what they've got as far as young developmental corners. They love Noel Williams, so that's a guy. I mean, but could you see those 3 guys across the board as your 3 corners on the field and one of those guys in the slot? That might be the one position where I think you would probably still say you need somebody. Obviously the Chiefs are comfortable with Chamari Connor and Chris Roland Wallace in the slot. They're not Trent McDuffie. So, maybe you're still looking for somebody who can be a slot corner, but I mean, I think it could happen. Now, what's more likely? I mean, I almost would say option 3, which I know you didn't present for me, but I almost would say option 3, which is that your top 2 corners next year, outside corners, are Christian Fulton, Noel Williams. Maybe the Chiefs bring in another free agent just because of Christian Fulton's injury history. But I mean, they could end up maybe keeping a guy like Najee Johnson who's affordable. I mean, I don't know that they're entirely comfortable with what they've got at corner with some guys, the younger guys. I mean, are they going to bring back Josh Williams? I mean, I couldn't see that. I think he would probably be best off with a change of scenery too. That would probably try to fit his game. But right now I'm reading Carol's comment about how I ramble, and knowing that this is just even further on the rambling. But I know it, Carol. I need to tone down the ramble. But you ask a good question, Jackson, because I mean, if maybe it's not a plurality, like maybe I said, maybe the most likely option might be option 3. I think keeping Jalen Watson's a distinct possibility. Trading Trent McDuffie is a distinct possibility. Watson would absolutely be cheaper. The Chiefs have just shown every indication the last couple of years of trying to find a replacement for Jalen Watson, though. And that's the only thing that makes me think that the Chiefs, their first option might not be to pay Jalen Watson. Jalen Watson might even want to find a new place because maybe he wants to be somewhere where he feels like maybe he's a better fit and there's not as many questions. I don't know. I mean, I think that's going to be a really interesting part of the offseason because we've talked about the McDuffie decision, but the Chiefs have a lot of others there too. I mean, Watson's in that discussion. I'm trying to remember if Najee has one more year. I feel like there's a possibility that Najee may have one more year because I'm not sure I'm trying to remember if he got a fully accrued season his rookie year. I'd have to look that up, but I thought he was a restricted free agent this year, which would make him a unrestricted free agent next year. But the Chiefs, I mean, they don't have a full complement under contract for their backfield at corner in 2026. So there's going to be some decisions to be made there. And I don't have a good feeling for where Jalen Watson honestly fits in, Jackson. I'm just not sure. Scott, do you expect the Chiefs to be a different team after the bye? Reid always seems to turn it up after the bye. I think the Chiefs turn it up after the bye. I think that, one, obviously, the Chiefs are usually well rested, well prepared, well coached, great game plans coming off the bye. I mean, Andy Reid doesn't win every game coming off the bye, but it seems like it. So, yeah, I mean, I expect them to be very well prepared, very well coached for this game against Denver next week. And if they're not, it'll be a concern. I mean, I expect their best effort. I do think that this team needed a break. From talking to people behind the scenes, and the players haven't mentioned it, and I'm not sure that it's as big of a deal for the players, maybe as it is for others. Maybe it is. Maybe it is for the players. Because, like I said, while the players haven't talked about it, there are people in the organization who will absolutely tell you that week one traveling to Brazil was torture. And I say that slightly hyperbolic. Yeah, I know it wasn't torture, but it was the worst of the worst overseas trips. And only part of it is the logistics. I mean, part of it too is that normally when you go overseas, you get a full week off. You get a bye week after the trip. The Chiefs did not get that. They played on a Friday, and then they're back at it the following Sunday. I mean, they did not get the additional time off that you normally do. And I get it. It was only a 2-hour time difference. It's not that significant. The 12-hour flight to and from says otherwise. That was a difficult trip. And on top of that, usually during the season, if you're going to play internationally, you've got to build up to it. It's not like it's normally in week one. It's usually later in the season. I think normally most international games played week 4 or later, it feels like. I mean, maybe there's a few in week 2 or 3 that I'm forgetting about, but it seems like they're usually later in the season, spread out a little bit, where then you've got like one every week. But not the first thing out of the gate. So remember, the Chiefs had a situation where basically, and I'd have to go back and look at the calendar and see how many, but I think it would almost absolutely certainly be less than 3 weeks. They went from St. Joe, they come back to Kansas City for a little bit. They go to Brazil, they come back. They didn't have like the ramp up time to pack up and get ready for Brazil. They had to kind of rush it. I mean, and I know that took a toll on the support staff, whether it's the equipment managers, whether it's the athletic training staff, everybody, that's a support staff for the team that travels with the team that does all of this. They've been playing catch up ever since Brazil. That was a rough trip. So I think that even though, like I said, even though the players aren't going to say it, they're going to usually take one for the team and the shield. Although I bet you I could get Chris to tell me his real thoughts on that. He's usually pretty honest on those things. And I don't think that I haven't specifically asked a player about this recently, and I should have, because like I said, I know that for the support staff, it has been a grueling trip. I think that Brazil trip took a lot more out of this team than we realized at the time and truly understand now. And like I said, a lot of people in that organization have been playing catch up ever since. So this bye week, I think, was badly needed. And whether it resets the clock on everything, we'll see. But I mean, did the Chiefs lose did the Chiefs lose 2 games in Brazil? Did they lose to the Eagles because they were still worn out from that trip to Brazil? I can't say no to that. I mean, if you want to make a compelling case for it, I could absolutely buy it. Team's not going to make the excuse, but I don't think there's any doubt that was, this team needed the bye week. This team needs the rest. So I'm going to be really intrigued to see what they are. If they go out and just blow the doors off of Denver, Katie bar the door. I truly feel like that this team might just be, one good week of rest away from just going out and being the Chiefs of old. especially because statistically they're a top 5 offense, they're a top 5 defense. They've never been that before. At some point, that's going to kick in and it's going to do something. All right. I'm now going to go true lightning round because I'm not going to hold everybody hostage on the questions until 10 o'clock, especially when you asked the question an hour ago. So I feel sorry. I apologize, folks. Let's stop rambling and get going here. What is stopping Mahomes from just calling a sneak on his own? How would Coach Reid react? I mean, I'll be honest. I think the only thing that's probably stopping Mahomes from doing it is just the like. I think he's more concerned about getting a penalty and then ending up 5 yards further back because they don't practice them. I mean, if you don't practice a play, it's hard to run. So I think he would probably be more concerned about that than ticking off the coach. I mean, it would be a big tick off to the coach. And maybe Andy Reid's waiting for the right time. Maybe he's finally going to do it. I mean, at this point, the Chiefs have so purposely gone away from not running a quarterback sneak that when they do run a quarterback sneak, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is just going to walk into the end zone. There's going to be nobody to stop him. I mean, you've seen it. I mean, there have been some plays where the Chiefs have some short yardage situations, and there's literally nobody lined up over the center. There is no one. There's like a huge gap in the A gap that if Mahomes wanted to just go between Creed and the guard, he could absolutely just stroll into the end zone untouched because teams are not worried about it. They're not worried about the sneak at all. So, I mean, I'll say it. I mean, if you're going to do that, why waste it in the regular season against Buffalo? I mean, if you finally are going to let Patrick Mahomes run a sneak, save it for the playoffs, save it for the Super Bowl, save it for a moment when you really, really need it, because the next time you use it, it is going to work and work big. Just don't waste it in a meaningless situation. Matt just wanted to say that I'm disappointed we didn't address either side of the ball, especially when we watch a team like Philly and Indy address things and we do nothing. What say you? I mean, yeah. I mean, and again, I mean, I think it comes down to want to and resources. You know, I talked about the resource part of it. The want to is another thing. I mean, Indy, they've been chasing this. I mean, you know, they have been trying to put together this kind of a season since Andrew Luck retired on them. And they haven't had the quarterback. I'm still not convinced that they've got the quarterback, but they're having the season with a quarterback who's having a season. If you're, I mean, absolutely. If you're Indy and you're 7-2 right now, and after what you have been through, and I think that this ownership group, I mean, with losing Jim Irsay, they certainly seem all in. I mean, this seems to be like a very emotional, important season to them. So the Chiefs were once upon a time like that. I mean, they were once desperate to win a Super Bowl. They were desperate for postseason success. So they went all in and they did those things. Maybe this will be the same thing. Maybe it's going to be Chiefs and Eagles in the Super Bowl again. And maybe the Eagles making a move at the trade deadline is going to be the difference in the game. But again, you know, give credit to Howie Roseman that the Eagles have the resources, they have the draft picks, they have the cap space right now to do some of these things. I may have some criticisms about Howie Roseman and the Eagles and how they handle things, and that eventually the salary cap bill is going to come due and they're going to have some problems down the road. But they feel like they got a window. I mean, that's why they're not afraid to push some of their salary cap issues, you know, 5 years into the future, because they got a quarterback right now. They know that you have to have a quarterback to win. There's no guarantee that after Jalen Hurts, you're going to have a quarterback. So you try and maximize this window all that you can. The Chiefs, hey, they've got 3 Super Bowls. Eagles have 1. That does change your motivation. And the Chiefs still think they have a long window. They don't think their window is 5 years. I mean, they think their window is as long as Patrick Mahomes is healthy and playing football, which I don't know how long it's going to be. Could be 5 years, could be 10 years, could be 15 years. I don't know. But they just didn't have the, I think that we'll eventually, when we hear from Brett Veach about it, I mean, he might say it more diplomatically and maybe a little bit more guarded, but I think this just came down to the players they wanted weren't available for the resources that they were willing to give up. Steven, this is the same question. Two great minds think alike. What is stopping Mahomes from calling an audible to sneak at the line? I don't think there would be much punishment from Andy Reid. I mean, he may, if he did come over. I mean, I'm sure Andy, like I said, he'd probably yell at him once. I mean, that would probably be about the end of it. But I don't think there would be a whole lot of punishment. But like I said, I think Patrick's bigger fear would be the fact that it might cause problems, might get them a penalty because they don't practice it. It's not anything that they're ready for. And there's a possibility that one day he's just going to see it. That he's just going to say, "Hey, wait a minute, there's nobody lined up over the center. I can take the snap and just run forward, and he can probably just even slide down. He's not even going to get a hit." I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. I mean, there's going to be an opportunity that Patrick sees it. Like I said, I just don't think that there's any reason to do it in a meaningless situation. The next time that the Chiefs run a sneak, it's going to work. Absolutely, because nobody's looking for it. Nobody's expecting it. So save it for a time when you need it. And there's something big on the line. I don't think halftime before Buffalo on Sunday, I don't think that was the time. I mean, I'd save it for a much bigger moment than that. It is good to be your own boss, Casey Harold. Not always. Let's see. No, Brian, no, you're not tanking. No, trust me, you are. If you're tanking, you're doing a really, really bad job of tanking because you wouldn't have 5 wins by now. I mean, if you're tanking, if you were tanking, you would, and it was all theater. Patrick Mahomes would have like a broken wrist or something in week 2, and then you just no. I mean, like I said, I mean, I still think that the Chiefs are. I still think they're the team to beat in the AFC. I mean, I still think they're the best team in the AFC. We'll see if they play to that level. I mean, maybe they're not going to. Maybe they're going to have too many issues. Maybe the lack of pass protection or they could end up with lack of pass protection. I mean, they had a little bit against Buffalo. But if this team, both offensive line, defensive line, it ends up being the fatal flaw of this team. Covering tight ends up being the fatal flaw of this team. And that's why they don't win a Super Bowl. It's one thing, but this team, they're not going to. This team's not going to finish. No, it's not going to finish 6-11, Brian. Not going to happen. I'm just telling you. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy's. Like we talked about CEH earlier. I still can't explain that one. I don't get it. I'm not sure why. We just need to. We need to see Brashard Smith. We need to see Elijah Mitchell. I know what CEH can do. Bless his heart. How can that be when Patrick and Chris are always restructuring their contracts? There's two different ways. I mean, there's a restructure and there's a renegotiation. It's probably the best way to put it. When we talk about restructures, Pano, you're really talking about just moving existing money around. So like Chris is typically, I mean, the Chiefs are going to do it next year too, because Chris has a big roster bonus, I believe. I think it's a $20 million roster bonus that will get all or most of that will get converted into a signing bonus. So you can kick that into in the future years and save some money next year. But teams do that all the time. Now, Mahomes is a little different, because with Mahomes, you're in this cycle where basically every 2 to 3 years, you need to really renegotiate the contract, because once again, I mean, I don't remember where it is right now. Obviously, Patrick's fallen down the list of, how much money he's making compared to other quarterbacks around the league. He has a super high cap number for this year. So you're going to want to negotiate that down. But they're going to want to, do more than just move money around with Mahomes. You're going to want to add some more money to it this offseason, put it in different years, kind of juggle some things. We'll change the cap number significantly, and you can do that. I mean, but I fully expect that this year we're going to get a renegotiated Mahomes contract, probably more money put into it on the deep back end. So, I mean, it'll be like you're going to start putting more money into the 20s and 2030s. He's got some fake years on the back end of that contract right now. They may put some more, fake years on the end of it just for future negotiations. But the Mahomes will be a little bit differently. But I mean, teams restructure contracts all the time. Usually a lot more than one or two. I mean, there's teams that may restructure 20 contracts, maybe 12. Chiefs are kind of in that ballpark. I mean, I would imagine this year they probably restructured 10 to 12 contracts, give or take. I could be wrong. Could be less, could be more, but I would think it's probably in that ballpark. Let's see. Yeah, and I saw a couple of these comments earlier when I was talking about. I should have just gone ahead and gone to it then. No, Terrell Suggs, but remember Terrell Suggs was not a trade. I mean, a little bit different. I mean, because he was a waiver claim. And I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, I still think that Terrell Suggs' best impact was off the field than on the field. I think he helped that 2019 team realize that they were good and they could win, and to kind of get out of their heads and get over themselves and understand that they weren't an upstart. They were a dominant team, and that they could win. And I think he gave them that confidence. I mean, his numbers weren't like, impactful. I mean, it wasn't like he just came in and was playing at an MVP level or anything. He was Terrell Suggs late in his career. I mean, he was a nice player, but I like I said, I think his biggest contribution was off the field than it was on the field. But I don't dispute that is outside of like DeAndre Hopkins. Statistically, Terrell Suggs is probably the best midseason addition that the Chiefs have ever had. But also, I will say this, if you're going to bring somebody in, it either needs to be somebody. If you're going to bring somebody in for a Steve Spagnuolo defensive line, it either, and I'll say this for an Andy Reid offensive skill player too. If you're going to bring somebody in, it needs to be somebody who's proficient with the system, that knows what you're doing, is at least a little bit familiar with the terminology, to understand things, or a ridiculously old veteran like a Terrell Suggs, like a Calais Campbell, who's been around, knows everything, high football IQ, and can pick anything up, and you just don't have to worry about it. I mean, not many guys like that, but Suggs would fit into that category. Joe, Chiefs drafting late in each round is now showing up on the football field. It's the cost of winning, plus sometimes trading away top draft picks to reach Super Bowls. Kudos, Joe, on getting the question read, even though it's not technically a question, by putting in a bunch of question marks. I'm not going to punish you for that, though. I'm going to partially agree. I mean, yeah, that's why when you're drafting late every single year in first round, and you're drafting late in every single round, you got to draft better and smarter. And you also have to be able to move around the board. That means you've got to pick up more picks. You've got to be willing to make some trades that hurt, to pick up more resources. I mean, sometimes you're going to make trades for guys that you need. And, I mean, Eagles, hey, they did that. I mean, trading for A.J. Brown was a huge part of their success. That trade was huge, but they've been able to, they can make those trades because Howie Roseman is very, very good at going out and getting draft picks. He's good at, getting players that are going to get them comp picks back, so they get those resources, and letting guys walk at the right times. Chiefs have been maybe inconsistent in that regard. I mean, they've gotten some comp picks here and there, but they probably need more. They're going to get more. I mean, they're going to have to let some guys walk in the next couple of years. So maybe the picks that they pick up as comp picks will kind of help balance it out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's why if you're drafting late every round, you've got to make those picks work. You got to be better at drafting than most other teams. And it's debatable. Chiefs have had some really good drafts, and they've had some questionable drafts. I think the jury's still out even on this year's draft. As much as I like this year's draft, there's some bad luck that they've already had, and I don't know what's going to happen. Steven, trades Veach has made to improve the D-line the past few years: Neil Farrell for a 6th, Cam Thomas for a 7th, Josh Uche for a 6th, Derek Nadi a pick swap. Why you just throw picks away? I mean, and you kind of mentioned there, I mean, at least Derek Nadi was a swap. I mean, you gave away positioning, but you didn't give away a pick. And I'm trying to remember if I'm certain it did for Neil Farrell. I'm pretty sure that, because I think I'm trying to remember Josh Uche. situation. I'm actually even trying to remember the Cam Thomas, if that one was, because I think that one was conditional. I'm trying to remember if all of them met their conditions. They may have. I know the Chiefs have had some trades that didn't make their conditions, so I can't. Not sure about any one of them, but no, I mean those even though they're late round third day picks, they've been bad trades. There's no doubt. I mean, Uche trade did not work out anyway the way they wanted to. Cam Thomas didn't work out. Neil Farrell didn't work out. I think those were frustrating trades. And I mean, Brett Veach is going to, I think, say, hey, they didn't give up much. They gave up very little to make a big swing. That if it hit, that was going to be outsized value. But you're right. I mean, those are 3 trades that they lost. I mean, even for the value that they gave up, even for 6s and 7s, it's bad value. So I think, I guess on the upside, I guess you could say at least he's not making bad trades where he's, giving away 3rds and 4ths for players that just absolutely fail on them. But yeah, I mean, I can't say you're wrong. I mean, if you are, once again, just like the last topic, last question we were discussing was Joe. If you're drafting in these positions every single year, you got to win the draft every single year. You just can't give away picks. And the Chiefs have indeed given away a few picks. Jimmy's, please rate Jaden Hicks' performance this season. 1 word only, please. Gosh. I mean, rate would suggest that maybe that there should be like a number, but I'm going to go with the word erratic. Because I feel like that Jaden Hicks, when he has played, has generally played really well. I do not entirely understand his usage. There are weeks that he plays a lot more than others. I'm not always sure. Even the weeks where he's played a lot, I haven't always entirely understood why he's playing more and somebody else is playing less. I'm not still entirely sure why Chamari Connor is the number 1 safety. Number 2 would be Brian Cook. Number 3 would appear to be Jaden Hicks, although sometimes it's like this past week, Chris Roland Wallace. I can't explain all of that. But erratic is the word I'm going to go, because you went for 1 word and I went, I guess, over words, but erratic. That's my final answer. Yeah, Rick, you brought this up. Some others have brought it up. I know it sounds like social media and Twitter X has been pretty hard on Brett Veach. I mean, again, I feel like if you win the Super Bowl, doesn't matter. I mean, and if you don't win the Super Bowl, every reason to gripe and complain about the Chiefs not getting some done at the trade deadline. I'm going to dig in. I'm going to dig into it. I want to dig into it because I do, and I want to look and see. I mean, the trades are becoming more prevalent every single year. I need to go back and just look and see at how many of the in-season trades really ended up being significant and changed anything, because I just feel like that by and large they don't. I mean, like I said, the Chiefs, Kadarius Toney helped out with 2 plays to win the Super Bowl. Did that mean that there wasn't a guy that could have made those 2 plays? McCole could have probably made 2 of those plays. Maybe not, but I don't know. I mean, Brett Veach has so far done pretty well for you. So I know there's a question coming up because I saw it in the scroll earlier. I mean, I don't consider myself a homer. I mean, I try to criticize when this team needs to be criticized, but it's also really hard to criticize a team that's gone to the Super Bowl as much as this team has and won as many Super Bowls as this team has. I mean, when you're criticizing, you're really, really nitpicking. And I mean, I'll nitpick at the best of them, but I mean, this one, that's my take on it, is that if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, obviously the Chiefs won the trade deadline. If they don't, you have every reason to say, hey, wait a minute, you should have made this move. That's 2020 hindsight's what sports are about sometimes. And you're judged on the trades that you make and the trades that you don't make sometimes. And you don't always know what the right move is at the time. You get some information later on that does tell you what was the right information. Rick, I don't think Brett Veach is all that. Taking CEH over Jonathan Taylor, taking Hardman over Metcalf. I mean, and there's, you know what, I mean, there is legitimacy there. I mean, I can explain, and why the Chiefs made both of those moves. I can explain why I thought that they were probably the right moves at the time. I mean, um, the Nicole Hardman move is always going to be really, really questionable, because the fact that is, I think a lot of people always forget about, what was going on there, about the fact that, a local TV station had the story about Tyreek that came out that, caused Tyreek, that night, on the night round one of the draft, to end up getting suspended by the team and suspended from the team for indefinitely. And when the Chiefs were drafting that night, they did not know if they were going to have Tyreek Hill on the field ever again. I mean, they were drafting to get a player to have Tyreek Hill insurance, and they felt like Mecole Hardman was the better fit over DK Metcalf. And their concern about DK Metcalf was ability to change speeds and change directions and maintain speed. Whether that was legitimate or not, whether it was a smokescreen, maybe the Chiefs were interested in DK Metcalf all along, and they will. I am more convinced that had that not happened, I still believe that the Chiefs were taking a cornerback. That was their plan, to take a cornerback at that spot. But the issues with Tyreek Hill caused them to take a wide receiver, and they felt like Mecole Hardman was a better fit with that situation than Metcalf. So that's always going to overshadow that decision. I mean, CEH over Jonathan Taylor. I mean, and that's assuming that Jonathan Taylor would fit into this Chiefs offense. I assume that he would. He's a really good running back, so that probably was a bad call. I know there were a lot of people who didn't like that decision at the time, and I know some of them were advocating for Jonathan Taylor at the time. It would have been a better choice, and every one of those entitled to the victory lap. Take it. I wasn't sure that CEH was the right decision. Brett Veach and Andy Reid made their compelling case about why they took him. I also know that, again, I mean, if they could have traded out of that spot and traded back into the second round and gotten more picks, they absolutely would have. They couldn't trade the pick. They decided to go with the guy that they thought would fit their offense the best. And hey, it looked good for a year until the Clyde's injury may have changed everything. I don't know. But hey, if you were of the Jonathan Taylor train over Clyde, take your victory lap. You absolutely earn it. I mean, like I said, I understand why the Chiefs made those decisions, and there were circumstances that led to both of those decisions. Were they the right ones? Probably not. I mean, if they had Jonathan Taylor and DK Metcalf, maybe this team has more than 3 Super Bowls. It's a legitimate point. Tyler, as the second half of the season rolls on, assuming everyone stays healthy, will we continue to see Fulton be inactive? Healthy, yes. I mean, I see no evidence at this point that you're going to see more of Christian Fulton. I mean, it's a possibility, I suppose, at some point that he sneaks into the rotation. But at this point, they seem pretty happy, obviously, with their top 2 guys. Noel Williams, my concern about Noel Williams as a rookie would be that if you start playing him a lot more, he might get exposed for some of his weaknesses. And that I think the Buffalo game was his worst game that he's had so far. So maybe that was happening a little bit. He was getting picked on. The younger guys are going to get picked on a little bit. So maybe there's a point where they're like, well, but especially if Fulton just picks up more of the defense. I still think that's the biggest holdup, is that they just have not been comfortable with how much of the defense that Fulton has picked up because of so much time that he missed in training camp and OTAs. If that progresses and he picks up more of the defense and they feel comfortable with that, then I think you're going to see Christian Fulton. But I think it also may end up being dependent too on some other guys ahead of him struggling. And if Noel Williams struggles, then you may see some Christian Fulton. Nick is a true Renaissance man. I'm glad you have all gone over to TikTok to check out. And hopefully you are all, if you're on TikTok, subscribe to him. Like I said, I'm not on TikTok, so maybe I should be, but I haven't gone down that road yet. Tyler, do you know if the Chiefs will be making Josh Simmons available to the media anytime in the near future, or if he would be even willing to be available to the media anytime soon? How does that work? It will be interesting. There's no guarantees. I mean, the Chiefs don't have to put a player on a podium for a press conference. I'm assuming they would not do that with Josh Simmons. Now, the Chiefs are still, at this point, they are still under the practices that kind of came up last year, which is they're not allowing cameras into the locker room, and they're requiring that camera interviews be done outside, and players have to agree to that and go outside with media to do those camera interviews. So I would imagine that the Chiefs may try to exercise a prerogative that does not exist, which is to say that a player who's on the active roster and is not available for interviews until he plays. That's a made-up rule, but the Chiefs have it. We go back and forth on this. I can't guarantee that the Chiefs are going to make him available next week. There's no media availability this week planned. So unless the Chiefs, unless they came in and just did something dramatic, say we're going to make him available, maybe do a Zoom with him this week. It's always possible. I'm not expecting it, but it's something that they have done before. But if consistent with past decisions that the team has made, because we're in uncharted territory. I mean, this is something completely outside the norm. There's no pattern here, so I can really only go on what the team has done in other situations that are nothing like this. So I can only guess. And I have not had a discussion yet with the Chiefs PR about whether or not that they are going to make and when they would make Josh available. Josh, for the most part, had been in his locker and been readily available to us to talk to. And I've talked to him several times during the season. He was less available, I will say, after the Jacksonville game, before the Lions game. So we'll see what happens. Technically, by the letter of the rules, players are supposed to be made available for the media at least once per week during game week, and then once after the game. But teams work their ways around that, and the Chiefs, to their credit or debit, are really good at working around that, and it has been a point of contention. So bottom line, Tyler, no. I mean, there's no guarantee when the Chiefs will make him available, when he will choose to be available in the locker room, which he could be to print and audio recorders, so radio, podcast. I mean, I could get an audio recording interview with Josh potentially if he's in the locker room, but it's if he makes himself available or the Chiefs require him to be made available. But we don't know. So I don't know. I have not heard yet, but hopefully we'll be talking about next Tuesday. So maybe we'll have an answer by then and bring it up again. And I'll definitely tell you if I don't do it during the monologue. So Luttrell, have you seen the Albert Breer report that Simmons' family issue was something that came up during the draft process? Breer covered it on October 28th. I have not seen Albert Breer's specific piece. I would imagine it is something that I have heard. There are many things that are out there that have gone around, and some of them I feel like are legitimate. Some are just guesses and speculation. I would say at this point, the best thing to do, honestly, Luttrell, is wait until you hear it from Josh himself. There have been a lot of things that have been put out there, some of which I know could be true, some that I know are true, and a lot that I know are false. And so that's why I don't know with 100% certainty what Josh's issue is, what caused it, how it affected him. None of that. If I knew, I would tell you. There are very, very few people who truly know. I don't believe that anyone outside the organization or outside of Josh's orbit truly knows, because this information has been held that closely to the chest, the vest rather, is the expression. So I say let's just be patient. Don't worry about it until you hear from Josh himself. So, Tyler, did you see Jawan Taylor after the game? Any vibes on if he would be good for the Denver game or not? Unfortunately, Tyler was not in Buffalo this week, so I did not see him. I don't know what the situation was. And really, the next update we might get. I mean, we'll hear a little. We will hear from Andy Reid on Monday for his weekly Monday Zoom. That'll be the first time that we have an availability with him after the game. I'm not optimistic that we'll get a lot of information. I don't think we'll really get good insight until Wednesday's practice report to see what he does. I mean, we'll see. Maybe something will come out before that, but I'm not super optimistic that we'll get a lot of details until next Wednesday. If we get it before then, hooray. Carol, I think Andy is holding back and he can't. They can't afford to lose any more games. Does he get that? Oh, Andy Reid knows exactly what is going on here. And no, I mean, did he go out to try and lose the game against Buffalo? No, I mean, definitely not. I mean, they tried to win. I mean, I will say, I mean, do I think that the Chiefs sometimes will do things in a game to set things up for a future matchup? Yeah, I do think that Andy Reid will do that. Does he do things in a game that he plans to set up for a future game and then decide, no, I'm going to run it in this game instead? Probably not. And there's a reason for that, which is that, I mean, if Andy Reid's got something that he thinks is going to work against Buffalo and he runs something against and has it in the game plan to run it against Buffalo in week 9, and maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't, but if it's designed to set up something else down the road to show them a look on tape that they can, they'll look at it, they'll see it, they'll get it, and they'll be like, okay, well, next time we see this is what we're going to be ready for. You do that, the opportunity for Andy Reid, which what he likes to do is to show you that and then come back and do something different. Now, the reason why he wouldn't do that different thing in a game against Buffalo would be that he hasn't prepped it, he hasn't taught it, they haven't run it, they didn't, if they didn't run it in practice that week, I mean, very rarely are they going to run. I mean, there's going to be exceptions, there's going to be things that they've worked on. I mean, they may very well, I don't know if anybody ever asked it for sure, for specifically, like if the Chiefs practiced WASP during the week at the Super Bowl, or it was just something that they practiced enough and were well enough conversed with it that they felt comfortable running it in that situation. I mean, he gets it. There's no doubt about it. And he knows, I mean, hey, 10-7 has consistently made the playoffs. I'm not saying Andy Reid's trying to go 10-7. I think Andy Reid going into the Buffalo game was trying to finish the season 14-3. Now he's going to try and finish the season 13-4. I mean, I don't think you have to worry about Andy Reid holding back. I think he's going to do everything that he can to try and win a football game. But the one thing he's not going to do is he's not going to put his players into what he thinks is a bad position, like having them run something or do something that they're not prepared for. So, Rick, it's rumored that the Chiefs offered the Jets a 4th round for Hall. Do you know anything about that? I mean, I know that the rumor is out there. I know it's coming from the Jets side of the things, it appears primarily. I mean, I've talked to people in the organization, and like I said earlier, I mean, no one's told me that the offer was specifically on the table. What I've been told is that there's a lot of misinformation out there. And so, were the Chiefs interested? I have no reason to believe that they wouldn't be. They should have been interested in Breece Hall. Was it the holdup that the Chiefs were offering a 4th and the Jets were demanding a 3rd? I don't know. Like I said earlier, there's always 2 sides to a story, and usually the truth is somewhere in between. So, was that simply the case? Would the Jets have been fine with a 3rd round pick no matter what it was? Were they like, hey, no, we want a 3rd round pick, but it's got to be at least above, before 90? Does it need to be before 80? Does it need to be before 70? I don't know. I mean, there can always be caveats on that. Maybe they wanted something else on top of it. Maybe they wanted a sweetener. I don't know. I haven't seen anybody report what I think would be the Chiefs side of things. And again, the Chiefs are usually pretty good at keeping those things close to the vest and don't like for their trade details that Certainly the trade details that get out, they certainly don't like. Chiefs don't even like to put out the trade details of the trades that they make. We typically, when the Chiefs make trades, if they say that they're trading a 5th round pick, we typically from the Chiefs, if they have like 2 5th round picks, we don't get told which one it is. We have to wait until the NFL transaction report comes out to tell us which pick it was. And sometimes Chiefs make trades and it's conditional, and we don't know that until the transaction report comes out. We get better trade details from other teams than we do from the Chiefs. They like to be pretty vague on when they make a trade. So when they don't, then if they don't make the trade, they definitely don't like to talk about it. What didn't go through. Now Nick has come in and placed the TikTok. For those of you who have not seen it, it's here. I don't know that Nick is actually available. I see his account. I just don't see Nick, so I don't know if he's here to actually talk about it, or is this just my place to play it and let you all enjoy it. So I'm going to try it. I don't know if this will work with the volume or not. We're going to let it slide here. I may have to adjust it on the fly. But here, Nick Jacobs' TikTok debut for those of you who have not yet seen it.
Nature! I'm naturing right. You in nature, bro? It's nature's confetti. I'm making nature angel. I'm naturing right now. Nature, it's happening.
I may have to play it again because I don't have my earpiece in, so I did not hear it, and I think I actually didn't muted it one time. So I will give you all a second.
Nature! I'm naturing right now. Do you even nature, bro? It's nature's confetti. I'm making nature angel. I'm naturing right now. Nature, it's happening.
There you go. The inimitable Nick Jacobs with his TikTok emergence. Jacob71 on TikTok. If you want more of where that came from, you know where to go get it now. So the man's a legend. That's all I got. All I can say. I told him yesterday that I've been watching. I finally been watching Only Murders in the Building, and I think he and I are a little bit like Steve Martin and Martin Short. I'm Steve Martin and he's Martin Short. So I think that tells you all you need to know about our personalities and who we are in real life. And I'm probably saying that because I worship Steve Martin. He's the greatest thing in the world. But Nick has the energy of a Martin Short. Aaron, do you think teams can get stagnant from a lack of coaching turnover? Always praise the consistency this franchise has had with coaching, but I feel like it can also hurt with change. I mean, you're absolutely right, Aaron. I mean, both things can be true and both things can happen, and they're not mutually exclusive. I mean, there can be truly benefits to having a staff that sticks together for a while. There can be downsides to when you have some significant turnover. You can miss, continuity and you can get stale. I mean, there are times when messages can get tuned out and don't work. And, I mean, hey, the teams, the coaches themselves are the only ones who know that, know what's really happening on the inside. Do the Chiefs have some of that right now? I mean, looking at it from the Chiefs' defensive side of the ball, I mean, I can't really say that there's anything that stands out to me that says that the Chiefs, hey, they need a significant change at a position on the defensive side. I mean, every group seems to be rocking and rolling. I don't think there's a position group that looks like it's stale. Steve Spagnuolo doesn't seem like his coaching is stale. I mean, I'm not sure where the criticism would be on the defensive side. On the offensive side, I mean, hey, we've had the Andy Heck conversations, and Andy Heck, the offensive line has been playing well this year. Right now, I mean, give the credit to Andy Heck when the offensive line's playing well. If we're going to give him the blame when it's not playing well, we have to give him he deserves the credit when they are playing well. Question is going to be, are they going to continue to play well? And that's at the end of the season. You got to make that judgment. And so I would say that at least On the offensive side, there's a couple of positions that are, maybe incomplete at this point. Maybe we just need more information. There are positions that honestly, I think that there's some coaches that may be underrated, that maybe, have took a lot of blame in the past that now maybe deserve a little bit more credit. And in that case, the one that jumps out to me is forgetting Connor's last name because he's like coaching legacy. Well, why am I completely blanking on Connor Embry? Thank you very much. Connor, as a young wide receiver coach, took a ton of blame, and maybe he deserved it. I mean, he took a ton of criticism his first couple of years of that wide receiver coach position because he was young. They were underperforming. They were having issues. They were inconsistent. There was a lot of things going on. I'd say now, I mean, I can't really say that there's a lot of things going wrong in that wide receiver room. Maybe he took a lot of grief for a lot of the problems that they were having. And maybe in retrospect, maybe he deserves a little bit of credit for keeping that group together when they had so many injuries and so many issues. And, I think that, hey, they had some probably chemistry issues his first year or so on the job at that wide receiver position. They've had injury issues until this year at the wide receiver position. You can't control that. And now you see that Connor Embry with a healthy group. I have not heard anybody calling for Connor Embry's head this year. I mean, even if anybody is tweaking the wide receivers, I mean, look and give it. And once again, you talk about give people credit when things are going right. They take the blame when things go wrong. I think you got to give credit for the fact that Connor Embry has been developing Rashee Rice. He continues to get better and is the best receiver on this team. Xavier Worthy, I think, has continued to get better. His work last year under the gun and both Rashee Rice, both of their rookie years, I mean, was phenomenal work considering that they were rookies for Andy Reid. I mean, that in itself probably deserves some credit that he didn't get. And hey, Tyquan Thornton completely flamed out in New England. And now he's a receiver that Chiefs and Chiefs fans really like. I mean, I think you got to give Connor Embry some credit for that. What's wrong? I mean, I know, hey, there's some disappointment right now that maybe Hollywood has too many drops. I don't know if that's on Connor Embry because nobody else seems to be having drop problems. That might just be one player. So Connor Embry might be a player that you're talking about needs some props. Maybe he's the one that is the better performer now. I mean, are the Chiefs running backs doing what you want? I mean, Todd Pinkston doesn't mean he can't coach running backs. I mean, he was a wide receiver by trade in his career. I don't know if that makes him a good or a bad running back coach. I can look at the production though, and I see that, hey, running backs aren't doing real well right now. So is the value of continuity at that spot worth it? Do you need somebody else? Are there positions that you need to overcome? I mean, the one thing, at least, Aaron, that the Chiefs have had is that they have had some turnover simply because some guys have left. So this isn't the same coaching staff that they had 5 years ago. I mean, they've had some turnover, a little bit less so on the Steve Spagnuolo side of the ball, although they've juggled some positions. Obviously, Joe Cullen's come in. Brendan Daly moved the linebackers. They've had some guys come and leave, and Matt House come back in different roles. You've had that. But offensively, I mean, they've had a couple of different running backs coach. I mean, obviously Eric Bieniemy left. Matt Nagy's come and gone and come back. They've had some turnover there. I mean, really, the only coach that hasn't turned over under Andy Reid on the offensive side, well, it's Andy Heck and Melvin at tight ends, Tom Melvin. Hey, do those positions need to be evaluated? I mean, are you seeing some stagnancy? I mean, it's certainly what you do every year. I mean, at the end of the year, you go back and you look at that. And I once again, I mean, I'm planning on following up with Andy Reid. At the combine, he said that, talked about accountability and that everybody after that Super Bowl loss last year had to be accountable for their part of the loss. And hey, if they don't win the Super Bowl year, that's going to be one of the off-season questions for me, is going to be, hey, are there guys that were responsible, had ownership? Because everybody had ownership of that Super Bowl loss last year, were there players or coaches that you need to evaluate because you're holding them responsible for getting better than they were in that Super Bowl? Did they do that? I mean, that's a question that's got to be asked. So I don't know what he'll tell me, but I'm gonna ask it. Oh, guys and gals, I truly apologize again for going so freaking slow, especially because I'm never going to get Nick back if I continue to have Q&As that go 2.5 hours or more. Although I do know that you all then have the great conversation that doesn't have a lot of questions on the back end, so I do catch up pretty quickly. But I definitely need to stop rambling. Mitchell, what makes the Chiefs think that they can stand pat when they've proven they can't win consistently? Their hubris will be their downfall. I mean, there's no doubt, Mitchell. I mean, they're doubling down on what they have, and I mean, again, and I know I guess I'm going to get called a homer for this, but this is a team right now that legitimately has a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. They have one really unexplainable loss. The one to Jacksonville it's unexplainable. Otherwise, I mean, this was always going to be a difficult schedule. I mean, even if this team's 6-3, I mean, I think if this team is 6-3, I get the sense that I think a lot of people would be feeling completely different about this team. I mean, like 100%, 180 turnaround. There would be people right now whose confidence in this team is 20%, whose confidence if the Chiefs were 6-3 would be 80%, because it was a tough schedule. There was a lot going on. I mean, there really isn't. There's a fine line between 6-3 and 5-4. So that's why, I mean, I'm pretty bullish on this team. I mean, because they have a top 5 offense, they have a top 5 defense. The winning consistently, I mean, again, I mean, they have lost some 1-score games that last year they won. Is it bad luck? I mean, I don't believe in that. I mean, I know that there are going to be the statisticians that will tell you, and I don't mean to be anti-statistician here, because for the most part, I'm pretty pro-statistician, even though I did get a C in Stat 31 in college. But I trust the numbers, and I trust the math, and I know there were a lot of people who specialize in that who said there was simply no way that the Chiefs could continue to win 1-score games the way that they were bound to lose some this year that they won last year. And legitimately, absolutely impossible. I mean, maybe it was just a reversion to the mean that the Chiefs have lost some games this year that they won last year by just the bounce of the football. It's, I mean, entirely possible. I mean, they literally lost that Eagles game by the bounce of the football. That ball bouncing off the hands of Travis Kelce and turning into a pick six. I mean, well, not pick six, I guess they got the tackle, but that was the deciding moment in the game, was the bounce of the hands. Same thing happened in Jacksonville. I mean, had the issue. So, you know, I don't see this team being as far away from being 6-3 as I think a lot of other people do. I just feel like that they're a lot closer to that. I mean, are they going to go the rest of the season middling the same way? I mean, are they going to end up 10-7 and miss the playoffs because they lose all the tiebreakers? Possibly. I have a hard time looking at this team, looking at its record, looking at the games that it's won and that it's lost, and looking at the schedule and seeing that this team is going to go 10-7. I can't rationalize that. It just doesn't add up to me. I could be wrong. I don't think I'm probably going to be wrong, but maybe I will be wrong. And if you want to bet against me, hey, it might pay off for you. I'm not going to put any money on my what I'm saying. So if you go on a sport book that will take your bet, you can start doing that, I guess, November 17th or something. So December 1st, I guess you can start signing up. And then December 1st, you can start betting against me. I just think that this team's going to be better the rest of the way that it has been to this point, because the schedule is going to be easier and that they have lost some tough, close games to some good teams. Nikki, did Veach decide there was no one available worth trading for, or just not enough money? I mean, I haven't talked to Brett, so I don't know specifically. You know, I can't read his mind, but I can I can at least tell you from what I've heard from Brett in the past, talking this season about player acquisitions and, talking to other people in the organization. I mean, I can say that, with great confidence that the Chiefs did not have a high interest in acquiring a player that was a big contract. They did not have any interest in acquiring someone that was going to eat up all of their remaining cap space. So even for a prorated version, let's say you're talking about half the contracts, they weren't interested in anyone making $8 million or more this season for the entire season. So prorated, if they made $8 million, Chiefs would be basically paying them $4 million. That was probably the ceiling. I mean, more than likely the ceiling was lower than that about the players, as far as how much, a player was making that they wanted to acquire. They just didn't want to, blow all of their cap that they have right now on one player, because they may need more help. They may need more down the road. I mean, if you've got $4 million in cap space and you spend your $4 million on one player and somebody else gets hurt, you need more cap space, and they don't necessarily want to free up more if they don't have to. So I truly, Nikki, I think it comes down to there was no one available with the contract that they wanted to acquire that was worth the draft pick compensation. And the player available is a big one, because Arizona wasn't trading anybody. They're 3-5. The Cowboys at 3-5-1 were acquiring players. They weren't sellers, they were buyers. There's a lot of teams that still think they're in it. Even the Dolphins. The Dolphins are what, 2-7? They absolutely should have been sellers. And I know they made a one or two trades, but they should have cleaned house. They've got players that they're holding on to that there's no reason for them to be holding on to them. They should have moved on, gotten the draft picks, because they're just not part of their future. So, that's the thing, is that I think that there were probably some players that the Chiefs might have been interested in who simply weren't available. And bottom line, the players who were available, Breece Hall, I have no reason to believe that the Chiefs weren't interested in Breece Hall. They clearly couldn't make an agreement on what it was worth draft pick wise. And I don't know if truly the difference was between the third and the fourth. Like I said earlier, there's two sides to every story, and the truth is usually in the middle. I think we've heard the Jets version of the story through a lot of reporters in New York, and I don't think we're going to hear much of the Chiefs side of the story. But we'll see. But availability, player that they wanted that was available with the right contract value for the right picks. That's what they basically was bottom line that they couldn't make a deal on. And I have no doubt it was not for a lack of trying. I have imagined that Brett Veach talked to every single GM in the league, somebody at every single team, and his staff, Chris Shea and everybody else, Mike Bradway, Jack Woloff. I imagine that they have all been making calls and texts in the last couple of weeks. They've reached out to every single team about every single player imaginable. So, Carol, I do take your words to heart. I am definitely going to try to ramble less next week. Thank you. I need to stop just getting distracted too. That's a part of the problem, which I think I just illustrated right there. Ramble will catch you caught in the bramble. That's right, Nikki. Let's see. I'm almost catching. Well, I'm only an hour behind, but it's mostly conversation. So I know we're going to go through these questions pretty quick. Cinders, how much is Nagy and how much is execution? I'm going to put almost 0% is Matt Nagy, because Matt is. I don't want to diminish the role of offensive coordinator for Andy Reid, because the offensive coordinator still does a lot and has a big voice. But again, Andy Reid has 51% control. So this team's not doing anything on offense that Andy Reid does not want to do and doesn't sign off on. So, you can't really blame too much on Matt Nagy. Now, if the team doesn't look well coached and isn't executing well, some of that you can blame on Matt Nagy. That's where he can have some ownership with, because he's got to, as Andy Reid would say, it's his responsibility. Matt Nagy's responsibility too, to put guys in position to make plays. Execution, I still feel that 90% of that is on the player, an individual player. That, hey, plays are designed so that if you run it the way you're supposed to run it, should work every time. Doesn't mean the defense is going to cooperate. As Eric Bieniemy once famously said, every play is designed to go for a touchdown. It's not like you're running plays that you think you're going to fail, or plays that you think are only going to get 1 yard. Now, I quibble with that because not every play is designed to run for a touchdown. So sometimes you just run plays because you're trying to get 1 yard, because you just need 1 yard. But his point still is that you run plays that, if executed, should succeed, unless the defense is good and stops you. I think the Chiefs against Buffalo had execution problems. There's no doubt about it. There were probably some as far as just the offensive line's overall production and play and efficiency on Sunday. I think they clearly had some miscommunications with receivers. They had some missed execution in parts of the passing game. So they had some poor execution at times on defense. I mean, I don't know how much Andy Reid is going to Steve Spagnuolo. I don't know how much Steve Spagnuolo is going to remember from this game at next Thursday's press conference, because he typically blocks the previous game out by Thursday. So I'm imagining 11 days later that he's barely going to remember the Buffalo game, although I'm sure he's probably will have watched more of the Buffalo game and the film than he's watches most games. So maybe we'll get a little bit more recollection from him. But no, I mean, you can't blame Matt Nagy for much on the offensive side. Andy Reid just is in control, and it's not like I'm saying that, hey, there's good things that happen, you can give that credit to Matt Nagy and Andy Reid takes credit for all the bad things. That's not the case either. But there are things that I don't know. I think it's really hard to isolate specifically what Matt Nagy's responsibility is, either credit or blame. But I will say this, I mean, it's collectively it's his. If the offense is producing and playing efficiently and playing well, you got to give Matt Nagy credit for it, because he's an important part of that. If they're not, you got to give him the blame. So, I mean, the question is probably more like, how much is Matt Nagy and how much is Andy Reid? I mean, it's still going to be mostly Andy Reid, but I still think that job matters. It's just a different job. The offensive coordinator job is different in Kansas City than it is in other places. Doesn't mean that Matt Nagy doesn't do a lot of work. It's just that it's really hard to, I think, isolate his credit and blame, because Andy Reid's the ultimate deciding factor. Why does Spags from Bradley have such an obsession with Chamari Connor? I know he sees him as an intelligent and athletic safety, but he is unplayable in the slot, and he's too easy for opposing teams to isolate in coverage. I mean, I completely get it. And, and this is probably one of those things that, and I'm trying to remember if we brought this up specifically, and Steve Spagnuolo has brought it up before, because I mean, I know we had this conversation with, I don't remember if it was Chris Jones or someone else. We had the conversation about Pro Football Focus, and I mean, the Chiefs grade every single one of their players. They do it differently than Pro Football Focus, but they watch film, they grade their players. They, no matter how much they might say sometimes that they don't, they do. And they determine, who they think plays the best and who does what they're being asked to do. I mean, I can't necessarily explain why Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt see what they are getting with Chamari Connor differently than others. I don't know that you're wrong. I don't know that anybody is wrong that sees, Chamari Connor's film and says, hey, wait a minute, I think this was on him. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo knows the play, so he knows what's being asked of these guys, and he thinks that Chamari Connor's doing a good job. I mean, he makes a lot of tackles. That's one thing that is always going to trump anything else. I mean, tackling the guy is a big deal, and Chamari Connor is a pretty good tackler, so maybe that trumps everything else. I mean, I do think that the more that Chamari Connor plays in specific spots, he does get a little overexposed and can maybe, get his flaws exposed more. I wish I can come up with. I'll continue to try and come up with it. I try to come up with a question that I hope will reveal information. And hey, I've been trying to come up with the right question to ask Spagnuolo that will actually give us a reliable answer. Because let's face it, I know a lot of fans want us to do this. They want us to ask the questions to say, "Hey, Spags, Tamari Connor seems like he stinks. Why do you keep playing him?" I mean, you can't do that. That's just, it's not professional. It's not conducive to a good conversation. I mean, what we're trying to do is ask questions that's going to get you valuable information. And so that's not going to do it. So I'm working. I've been trying. I feel like all of us have been trying to ask that question to say, hey, what's the disconnect? And maybe that's the direction to go. What's the disconnect between what fans see, what Pro Football Focus sees, and you see with Tamari Connor? Where's the disconnect? And I don't know, maybe one day we'll finally get an answer. I wish I could explain it better, Bradley. I mean, I think we're all working on it. If I ever crack that nut, I better win some awards. I'll enter for some awards. I know that, but trying to just have some fun. I mean, it's a legitimate question. I'm not making fun of you, Bradley. Truly not. I just like saying, I just haven't found the right way to ask that question to get the correct answer. So, I mean, I say ask everything. Did Prince ever have trombones in his band? Diamonds and Pearls seemed like it probably had some trombones, right? I mean, there's got to be some Prince songs that had some horns, right? Jason, why do y'all keep saying the Chiefs are saving things? They are 5-4, basically can't win the division, losers on nearly all tiebreakers. What the heck? Here's my better way to put it. I mean, because I don't like saying that they're saving anything, but here's always been my comparison for Andy Reid, and I think he is more like this than almost any other NFL coach I've ever heard of. I mean, I've only covered this team. So I can't say that I've covered 32 NFL coaches directly. I mean, I've covered Kansas City's coaches. So I've covered him as a head coach. I've read about other coaches. I've heard about other coaches. I've talked to other people about other head coaches. I try to do my homework. But Andy Reid, the way I describe it, and Soren Petra and I had a conversation like this today on Sports Radio 810. Soren put it as, Andy Reid's telling a story. And that's a good way to put it. So every game may be a chapter. He's going to do things, and it's designed, so that over an entire season, he's going to do something in week 1 that sets up a plot point for week 9. My comparison I've always used is that Andy Reid's conducting a symphony. I think it's the same type of analogy, which is that he's going to build a theme. He's going to do something in week 1 for the purpose of showing you that exact same look in week 9, but he's going to do something different. But he wants to put that on film in a specific spot in specific situations against specific teams, because later on he knows he's going to want to run this against somebody else. They work on things in training camp. They run plays in training camp that are like, hey, this is something that we're going to work on all season, because this is something that we're going to run in the playoffs when we need it at a specific time. I mean, I think he thinks strategically about that more than just about any other NFL coach that I've heard of, especially offensively. There might be some, defensive coaches that do the same thing. And I know that there are offensive coaches who do the same things. I just don't know that how many of them do it as in-depthly as Andy Reid does, because he does everything in depth when it comes to a game plan. So I don't think I don't like saying that they're saving things. And like I said, I sometimes let the word sandbag be a kind of stand-in for other phrases. I don't like to say that, because Andy Reid does not go into any game not trying to win. He's trying to do everything that he can. But like I said earlier, the earlier question, he's not going to run things that he hasn't prepared for that team. I mean, if it's something that they might have something that they work on all the time, didn't practice it that week, or he's not happy with the way that they're executing it, he's not going to call it. They can make poor decisions. And if you make a poor decision on a game plan against a team in a particular week, it's really hard to get out of it. I mean, you've got a play sheet, and with their time, I mean, I have to do the math. I don't know how much time anymore that the teams have to work on and run specific plays throughout the week. But I mean, let's just put a number on. Let's say they have 200 reps during the week. During some of those are going to be repetitions. They're going to run some stuff. They're going to run twice. Some things they might run 3 or 4 times. To get it right. Might be in a walkthrough. Might be in a real practice. Might be in what they've been doing the last couple of weeks when they do really light practices on Wednesday and Thursday. Might be in helmets. Might not be. I mean, they'll do them in different places. So I mean, they don't save things, but they prepare. Every week to run specific stuff. Well, you have a moment that you run into a team that's completely prepared for what you're doing. Most difficult thing to do is to completely throw out that game plan and do something different. No coach wants to do that. So you try to call the stuff that works. I don't think that Andy Reid tries to save anything. I mean, it's on his call sheet that week. He's going to potentially call it if he thinks it's going to work. And I mean, again, I kind of go back to this team is 5-4. You're right. What's the difference between 6-3 and 5-4 is minuscule. And yes, they're losers on nearly on all tiebreakers. But then again, I mean, and I hate to sound like Marty Schottenheimer here because it never really worked out for Marty Schottenheimer, but this Chiefs team is one of the exceptions to the rule. If this team is the 7th seed in the playoffs, they're going to be the scariest 7th seed that nobody wants to see the Chiefs as the 7th seed in the playoffs. Because they're capable of going on the road and winning 3 straight games on the road in the playoffs. I mean, I'm not saying the regular season doesn't matter. I'm just saying that the Chiefs have had a really tough schedule. I think they should have a better record. I thought they would have a better record at this point, but I don't think that. I mean, if you thought that the Chiefs were going to be 7-2 at this point in the season, I mean, I might need to go back to August and have you drug tested because this was a tough schedule. I don't know anybody. I don't think I had to go back and look and see what my season prediction for this team was 13-4. Still technically possible. So I'm not giving up on it. I know I talked to somebody yesterday whose prediction was 12-5. Still very, very much possible. I mean, this team, we have seen this before. This team has been 3 games out of the AFC West lead with less time to play and still won their division. I mean, things happen, especially with this team, because I mean, I think they are intimidating. They get in people's heads. And I mean, and I'll bring in your next question, your point. And I mean, feel free to call me a homer. I mean, I don't think I'm a homer because I do feel like I try to be pretty objective about this team, but and me saying this could be and still could be the best team in the AFC. It says less about the Chiefs than it does honestly about my opinion about the rest of the AFC. I mean, in past years, I would have said it's the Chiefs, it's the Ravens, it's the Bengals and the Bills. Those are consistently 3 or 4 of the teams that you were going into every season in the last 5 years that you say it's the AFC is theirs. One of those teams is going to win it. Nobody else has much of a chance. Everybody else is kind of on a second tier. And I mean, this season's different. I mean, we've seen it already. I mean, Buffalo doesn't have a significantly better record than the Chiefs do. I mean, they've lost some games that they shouldn't have lost. They have not had a very good schedule. Their schedule at this point, I had to go back and look at it again. Now beating the Chiefs actually improved their schedule a little bit, but the Bills' schedule has consistently this year been, and just based on teams that they've played, this is not based on who they're going to play, only based on the teams that they have beaten so far and they've played so far. The Buffalo schedule has been the worst in the league. I mean, their strength of schedule is now up to 391. I mean, and the Chiefs help that. Chiefs' strength of schedule, the record of the teams that the Chiefs have played to this team, 0.507. That's significant. That is a major difference in strength of schedule. So Buffalo, They're 6-2 against a terribly weak schedule. The Chiefs are 5-4 against. Looking at it again, I mean, the Chiefs at one point, I think, okay, Pittsburgh is in better shape, barely, just slightly better. The Steelers are the only. Yeah, okay, in Jacksonville now. Steelers and Jacksonville are the only teams above 500 with a tougher strength of schedule in the AFC than the Chiefs. They've had a tough schedule. Most of the other teams with better records against them have had terrible schedules to this point. I mean, there's still a lot of football to play. I mean, I look at this schedule and I look at this team, and I mean, honestly, I mean, I think this team should be 7-1 the rest of the way. 6-2, if they maybe stumble somewhere. 6-2 is going to get them in the playoffs. And the last person that you want to face in the playoffs is Patrick Mahomes. So when I say, like I said, when I say that the Chiefs, I think they're the best team in the AFC, I say that because I don't think much of the rest of the AFC. I mean, look at these division leaders. I mean, are you worried about the Steelers? The Steelers are 5-3. I mean, after 9 games, they might be 5-4 too. They might have the exact same record as the Chiefs. I'm not scared of the Steelers. I mean, Jacksonville's 5-3. I know they beat the Chiefs at home. I don't think they're beating the Chiefs at home again. And their metrics, I mean, overall net points, for example, Jacksonville, -8. Their opponents have outscored them by 8 points on the season. The Chiefs have outscored their opponents by 76 points this year. I mean, I think now at this point, Indianapolis is the only team in the AFC with a better point differential than the Chiefs have. I mean, the numbers would tell you that the Chiefs have been unlucky, that they have probably lost the game that they should have won. Maybe 2. I think it's more likely that probably Indianapolis probably should be 6-3 based on their mark. I mean, obviously, a lot of their net points are really good. So if you want to say that she should be 7-2, that's legit. That's legit. I mean, the metrics would say, the schedule would say that the Chiefs are much better. They're a ridiculously good 5-4 team. So, like I said, are you worried about Denver? Denver could be scary, but I mean, again, Patrick Mahomes versus Bo Nix, I'm not worried about that. Yeah, the Chiefs got blown out in week 18 against Denver last year. Well, it wasn't the Chiefs. It was the Chiefs JV team. It wasn't Patrick Mahomes. He wasn't on the field that day. So I'm not terribly concerned about that. I mean, Denver, I think Denver's either the first or second best team in the AFC. I don't think the Indianapolis Colts are the best team in the AFC. I think they're maybe at best the third best team in the AFC. I'm more worried about New England, mostly because I'm just worried about Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is a great coach. He is tremendously underrated. The fact that he made the playoffs with some of the quarterbacks that he had in Tennessee is ridiculous. So I'm a Mike Vrabel guy. So I would say New England, the Broncos, and the Chiefs are the 3 best teams in the AFC in some order. And if you want to say that, you give it and say the Chiefs are the 3rd best right now, fine. I'm not going to argue with you because they're 5-4. But they're better than Pittsburgh. They're better than Jacksonville. I don't care what happened in Jacksonville. The Chiefs play Jacksonville 10 games. Chiefs probably win 7 or 8 of them. I'm fairly confident about that. So I mean, who else are you worried about? So I'm not trying to jump down, Jason, and I'm not afraid of the criticism. I mean, want to call me a homer, call me a homer, but I just try to be objective. I mean, and the reality of it is when you're good at the Chiefs, you're really nitpicking. I mean, we are going to nitpick, and we don't have anything else to do, so we might as well nitpick on the bye week. All right, now I need some iced tea. Okay, I'm going to break the record, unfortunately, tonight. So if there's anybody left, I'm really, really impressed. And I know that there are some of you left, so I am truly impressed. And I am definitely going to have to put chapters in this one because, I want to make it easy for the people watching. I'll have to obviously chapterize my rambles and say, don't watch this. Oh, hey, Jesus, I think I saw this and I forgot. I got so heated. I forgot to come back to your super chat. And I don't know if it was the last question that got me fired up there. Yeah, gosh, that was a long time ago. Hey, Jesus, I feel terrible. I consistently do this to you, Jesus. I mean, I'm the worst friend ever. I mean, I consider all of you friends. There's only a couple of you that I know in real life. but as I ramble, but I'm a terrible, terrible friend, Jesus. I'm a terrible, terrible podcast host. My deepest apologies. I do not know. No one seems to know. Rashee has deferred questions every time that he's been asked about it. I would sincerely doubt it, because the only time that he really would have had time to do it since the plea agreement would have been during his 6-week suspension. And he had told us that he was going back and forth between Miami and Dallas, spending time with his family on the weekends and going to Miami to work out during the week, during the suspension. I mean, the Chiefs have kind of deferred comment on this as well about whether, but I've been told that they largely don't have an opinion about when, Rashee needs to do his time. And my understanding is that he is allowed to do it because his probation has been transferred to Missouri, that he is allowed to do and serve that time in Missouri, which I think would be a better situation for him than doing it in Texas. But, yeah, he's been very vague on it. Like I said, I doubt it because the only time that he would have had an opportunity to do it would have been during the suspension, and it sounds like he was consistently working out or spending time with his family that entire time. I mean, he's got, I believe, 3 years to do it, 30 days. So, I mean, and he's allowed to do it in very short stints. I mean, 1 or 2, 3 days here at a time. So I would imagine that it's probably an off-season thing that you do. I don't think that's something that you would risk doing during the season. That's why I would not have let him do it. I mean, if I'm the Chiefs, I mean, he can do whatever he wants to, I suppose, but I would have strongly encouraged him not to do it during the season because you don't know what can happen. I mean, my facetious hyperbolic reason was all it takes is one Raiders fan and that's, finds Rashee Rice and everything. And, maybe he misses 6 more games. So I would doubt that he has, but obviously he has plenty of time to do that. So, but if I ever get an accurate detailing of it, Jesus, I will absolutely let you know. Steven, are the Eagles better at managing the cap because of their willingness to have a ton of void years on the contract? It certainly helps. The Eagles are not afraid of spreading out cap hits over multiple years, and some of their contracts are really, really confusing. I mean, because one of the things that they will do with those void years, I mean, some of them are pretty simple. Like they'll sign somebody to a 1-year contract, give them a signing bonus, put on 4 void years, and spread that signing bonus with a minimum base salary over the next 5 years. So give them a $1 million base and $10 million signing bonus. All of a sudden, the guy's got $11 million cap hit or $11 million 1-year contract, and you're taking $3 million in year 1 and you're taking $2 million in the next 4 years when he may or may not be on your team anymore. Small amounts here and there, but they also have some contracts where they spread them out even further. Like they will have money that is if not guaranteed, then practically guaranteed, that's in like an option bonus. Some of the guys have those, which you sign the contract in 2025. You can stretch out the signing bonus and prorate that over the next 5 seasons. So you can do that through 2029. Well, then what you do if you're the Eagles is you put like an option bonus in 2028 that pays them more money, but then allows you to now spread that over 2030, 31, and 32. So conceivably, I mean, if the Eagles pay some of the option bonuses they have in some of their contracts, I mean, they literally have some guys that could have cap hits that are under contract right now that spread into like 2034. So I think we're going to see how it works. We are. I mean, the Eagles are a test case, and the thing is that you're not going to really know whether it works right now. You're going to find out if it's going to work in 5 or 6 years. And like I said earlier, I mean, they basically, what the Eagles are doing is they are they're maximizing the value of cap space and the amount that they have right now during the Jalen Hurts window. I mean, they're basically accepting the fact that they know that the likelihood that they're going to have a quarterback as good as Jalen Hurts next in line is unlikely. I mean, odds are the next quarterback is not going to be as good. So why not push the cap hit as far forward into the future that you can and take that when Jalen Hurts is done, maximize this window for which you have Jalen Hurts. Like I said, we'll find out if it's a winning strategy or not. It may end up very well. It may end up being that they are in such cap doo-doo in 2031 that they'll wish that they had never done it and nobody else will do it. But we'll see how it plays out. Jimmy's, what reporter will grab the lead when Simmons becomes available for comment and ask the big question? How do you all decide how that goes? There is no deciding how it goes, especially now, because there's no one that has the seniority in both years on the beat and their current position that Adam Teicher had. So if Adam Teicher was still here, had not retired, was still on the beat, Adam would absolutely have the first question in a scenario like that. I mean, I'm not necessarily the most senior on the beat. I mean, when it comes to the beat writers, gosh, I mean, Blair Kirchhoff is with the Chiefs, has been around much longer than I have. I mean, he's obviously covered the Chiefs on and off over the years and hasn't always been full-time beat writer, but I would defer to Blair, but I also know Blair, you would usually defer to others. I mean, gosh, I hadn't really thought about that, but I mean, Dave Stretta has been around longer than I have, but so, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem, being the first one to ask the question. I also have sometimes a different style. You say the big question. I mean, if I have a big question that I have for Josh Simmons, it probably wouldn't be the first question that I ask, because I would be more likely to ask him a lead-in question, something to just, and especially if the Chiefs put him on a podium. I mean, depending on the person and the player, I mean, there are times that you're just simply, I think you're better off asking what I think most people would call a softball question. Like I said, I call them lead-in questions. I mean, it's something to get the process going. Oftentimes, if you lead with the big question first in a press conference, the person is nervous. You may not get the best answer to that question, and then it just sends everything else in kind of a downward spiral. So I typically, even in a press conference situation, I mean, I'm much more comfortable with the approach that the better thing to do is to ask some setup questions, to just let the person get their feet wet and then ask your meaningful, meaty questions. So, hey, we'll see when and if Simmons becomes available, how it works out. I mean, I certainly don't have any problems asking the first question. I mean, I'm willing to do it. If I ask the first question, my first question is probably not going to be, the big question that you may be thinking of. My question will probably be something else, but it would be designed to at least let Josh settle in and get comfortable, and then maybe we can have a real conversation. You start out too combative too early, and I think you end up with bad press conferences. But not everybody agrees with me. Your mileage may vary. But the bottom line, there is no process. We don't have a discussion about who goes first. It is typically chaos because we don't have like a microphone that we pass around. So it's not like, either some press conferences and Chiefs press conferences, usually at the end, they will call on reporters just when they decided it's time to wrap up. So it's like, okay, the final 3 questions, here we go. When we do it, we start it off, they're free for alls. It's just whoever gets their question out first. And yes, I saw all the Steve Martin comments earlier, because once again, I don't know if I saw anything. Does anybody really hate or like or completely indifferent to the questions scrolling by on the screen? I realize now, in like probably the last half hour, I have been paying less attention to it because I minimized my window and I haven't been reading it as well. So I'm enlarging that and rambling. Yes, the Nick's absence has created a 3-hour show. It is his fault. I'm greatly enjoying the Steve Martin conversation. Was not mine. It was like one of my uncles, but they had the King Tut 45, and on the back of the 45 was just a Steve Martin stand-up bit that at one time I just like had completely memorized because it was basically him ranting about the fact that he couldn't get any mood lighting from the lighting people. And mostly because, they were, I think, on various herbal products. But I had that entire routine, and yes, King Tut. Great song. Enjoyed that 45. Played it immensely, even though, like I said, wasn't mine, but I played it immensely. Mitchell, do you think Andy Reid's best coaching days are behind him? His play calling makes no sense a lot of the time. I'm not sure I'm going to go there. I get where you're coming from. Like I said, I think that I believe that always there's a purpose. We may not always see the purpose, and it may not be the same decision that we make. Might not be the same decision that Matt Nagy would make. Might not be the same decision that Patrick Mahomes would make. Although, I mean, if Patrick really doesn't like a play, Patrick can say to the coach, yeah, something else. Let's try something else instead. I don't think that happens a lot, but I mean, hey, are his best days behind him? More than likely. I mean, the man's in his mid-60s, so I mean, that's possible. I mean, this is one of those situations where Andy Reid's forgotten more about football than most of us will ever know. And the reality of it is that he still knows more about football than just about anybody else. I mean, he's just one of those guys. I think that I don't think it's a football mind. I don't think that he's that far behind. I mean, when I'm saying that, maybe his best days of coaching are behind him, I mean, that's just probably because he's not as demonstrative. I mean, he's not as energetic. He's not moving around as much. He's not, able to give maybe as much one-on-one instruction to players as maybe he once did, just because, I mean, hey, he's had a couple of knee replacements, and you get to a certain age and, you don't move as fast. So there's probably some things that he used to do as a coach that he can't do anymore. But as a mind, I don't think that I think everybody in the NFL would say that he's still the best mind in the business. And I've seen him in situations, when he's talking about football, and I mean, he still makes more sense than anybody else, and he knows his stuff. So, and yeah, Mitchell, I'm seeing you're mentioning the goal line stand. Again, I mean, would I have done that? Would I have thought that a run to Kareem from under center would have been the better play? Probably. Yeah. I mean, I would have. I'm certainly not but I haven't had the experience that Andy Reid was. I mean, he thought that was the best play. I did not really have much problem with the two pass plays. I just think that they were not executed correctly, and that can happen. I mean, the defense makes good plays sometimes. Sometimes the offense doesn't perform. Mahomes may have made a bad throw. So and I'm not trying to like dodge it. I'm not trying to like defend Andy Reid. I mean, that's not my job. I mean, I'm here to be as objective as I can and just tell you what I see. I mean, but like I said, I agree with a large portion of the premise of your question, which is, like I said, that, hey, his best coaching days behind him? Probably. Is he still one of the best game planners and game callers in the NFL? I think a lot of people in the NFL would tell you yes, that he is. And I think, honestly, I mean, I think the Super Bowl speak for themselves too. I mean, I'll say this. I mean, and I will stick with this. This is a definitely a hard take here. Patrick Mahomes is fantastic. He's great. He's Hall of Famer. He might be one of the best, might be the best quarterback ever. I mean, I still think he's probably got some years to put on him to just prove it and stamp it and everything. And you know what? there are going to be quarterbacks who have been watching Patrick Mahomes. So, there might be a guy that comes along that's better than him in 20 years just because they watch Patrick Mahomes play. Dude's the best of all time. I don't think he's the best of all time without Andy Reid. I mean, Andy Reid has made him. And because I think Andy Reid has consistently made quarterbacks better than they were. Show me a quarterback that played for Andy Reid, and I will show you a quarterback who he got more out of. I don't think Donovan Smith was the quarterback that he was without Andy Reid. You give him to what's that? I mean, I was getting ready to say Jeff Fisher, because Jeff Fisher is like one of the coaches that seems to be the most much of a lightning rod, because I mean, hey, never won a Super Bowl, came close, had some really good years, then kind of trailed off and everything, but now people are like, they don't know whether that Jeff Fisher was a really, really good coach or a really, really bad coach or just mediocre. Let's say he was mediocre. I mean, every quarterback that Andy Reid's had would be one level worse than they were that if Andy Reid wasn't their coach. I mean, like I said, Patrick Mahomes, I think is in the conversation for being one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I don't think that he would be in that conversation without Andy Reid. I think he might be a Hall of Famer still. He might be that good, but he might be Matt Stafford. He might be who he is, not rather than one of the best of all time. Nothing wrong with that, but just my hot take. So nothing wrong with your hot take either, Mitchell. I get it. I mean, maybe it's completely fair. So I don't have a problem with it. If you make your case, make your case. So I think he's a different coach. And like I said, I actually agree with, I think largely with the premise of your question, that I think his play calling, even like in that in-game scenario, well, that end of the half scenario on Sunday, I didn't have as much problems with as other people did, but I would have probably liked a different run play. But again, is Andy Reid doing that for a reason? Is he doing it because he wanted to do something different later in the game? Did he really truly believe that was the best play that they had? And maybe that was the play that they ran the best in practice all week, and he thought it was a money play. I don't know. And we don't sometimes always get that story, and if this wasn't a bye week, that's actually a question I would love to ask and see if some guys, at least away from a podium, would say, hey, why'd you run that play? Why was that the one that you ran? They may say too that that's the play that they had the most confidence in. You never know. All right, everybody, I have talked your ears off tonight. If anybody made it all the way through tonight's record podcast, record live stream, I should do something special for you. Maybe this week I can work on a couple of projects that I've been promising that aren't done yet. So maybe there'll be some surprises, especially for those of you who are kind enough to be members here. But thank you, everyone. I'm going to chapter this. So anybody who comes in later wants to just go specifically to their parts, or Jesus would like to come in and finally get an answer to his question an hour after he asked it in the super chat. That's what we're going to do. So everybody, thank you so much for making this a fun conversation. I know I say it every week. One of these days I will do a lightning round and we'll get down of here in an orderly amount of time. You are all the best. Have a great bye week. I hope you enjoy yourselves. Nick and I will be back with 41 is the mic for just a normal, I don't know when we're going to record it. Usually we record those episodes at like 11 a.m. on a Sunday. So I imagine you might get that in your stream fairly early on Sunday this week, where we just talk about some of the midseason topics and where the Chiefs are right now. Everybody have a great week. Enjoy the bye week, and can't wait to get started next week for a big one, Chiefs at Broncos. That's going to be a lot of fun.